try to give her a call again, and then she just added another phone number to the 13-year-old grandson who's possibly with the daughter. Stand by with this.
2412.
Veteran crisis hotline's calling in, so they have a female veteran's off her medication. She's over at the safe haven. Detective 12, we'll check that one out.
6 Rumble, 2 1 star, take your shots.
Officer still stands for talk? No. Offender in custody? Thanks. Anyone else close, point to 0, let me know. First standby. 10-4.
She's calling back. We're going to try to give her a call again, and then she just added another phone number to the 13-year-old grandson who's possibly with the daughter. Stand by with this.
2412.
Veteran crisis hotline's calling in, so they have a female veteran's off her medication. She's over at the safe haven. Detective 12, we'll check that one out.
6 Rumble, 2 1 star, take your shots.
Officer still stands for talk? Offender in custody? Thanks. Anyone else close, point to 0, let me know. 10-5,
3 3. I'm going to supervise and
Good morning. Hopefully the audio is okay. I was having issues this morning.
Sounds good.
Getting the audio to work. So hopefully it's okay. Oh, hold on, now the camera.
Can you hear me?
StreamYard. Yeah, I can hear you just fine. StreamYard's been like... All right, there we go. StreamYard's been buggy as hell. And good morning, everybody. I can't wait to get into these documents today. But I wanted to discuss something from a document we read yesterday. 1 second. Let me pull it up. But I wanted to show you guys this article. And I want to say thank you to Caddy. Good evening, Anna. From Ireland today. Thank you. Caddy, what's up? Oh, yeah, it's early as hell for Caddy, isn't it? Let me see here. KB, what's up, Michael? Fly girl. Typically unique. What's up, Veronica? Good morning. Bo. There was when we read, let me see here. Let me pull it up. When we read this document yesterday, it had all of the abbreviations listed in it. And right in between, in the middle of two abbreviations was DoorDash driver. Now it was weird because it was weirdly placed, you know. It was like right in between EG and MM. And so if you weren't looking closely, then you didn't see where the comma was at. And let me bring that up for you here as we're talking about it, so you see what I'm talking about. This is the defendant's reply to the state's response, vague, undisclosed expert testimony. So when we were looking at this document yesterday, right here, you see where it says, you see where the this is weird right here. I want people to pay attention. You see how you got commas, right?
Right.
Where's the comma between where's the comma between MM and DoorDash, or where's the comma between DoorDash and EG? I don't see a comma.
Right.
Were they together? Were they together? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's really weird. I mean,
Were these people together? And when it comes to MM, you're talking Madison Moy, Matt Moy, neighbors. Neighbors. See, when you go to this article right here, oh wow, hold on. it made us little teeny. All right, here we go. Yeah, weird. Okay, so I gotta say thank you to Caddy for finding this. Here's the link to this article. Hopefully it'll fit. Does it? Yes, no, it don't. Hold on. Let me see. Let me cut some of it off so it fits. Let me get rid of this stuff. This should still work. Right here. I just cut off half of it. That should still work. It should still take you, because otherwise it's too long to drop for YouTube. I wish they'd fix that. But anyway.
that works.
So when you're going back to this article, good morning, Aaliyah. When you're going back to this article published November 29th, 2002. All right. The Sunday marks 2 weeks since 4 University of Idaho students were killed in their off-campus Moscow home. Now, listen to this. One of the 4 University of Idaho students was killed by an unknown suspect earlier this month, was spotted having a normal night out with her friends just hours before tragedy struck. A classmate and sorority sister recalled. Now it says Madison Mogan, 21, spent much of the night on November 12th at Moscow, Idaho's Corner Club, where she was spotted just laughing with all of her friends. Said Madison Moy, a fellow student and neighbor. Oh, it just gets deeper. It was just a normal night in Moscow, Moy, a 21-year-old sophomore, told Fox News Digital on Monday. Moscow is a safe place. Nothing like this ever happens. I didn't think anything of it. Now, that was the last time Moy saw Mogan, who police said spent the night out with another one of the victims, 21-year-old Kaylee Gonsalves. Moy said Mogan was at the club, a hotspot for University of Idaho students for the majority of the night. According to the police, Mogan and Gonsalves, and then it gets into the crime. But isn't that interesting how it mentions sorority sister, neighbor, someone who spent most of the night with her, okay? So then you go back to this. And when you go back to this, EG distanced himself from both of the surviving roommates, acts like he doesn't know them at all. Distances himself from the surviving roommates, acts like he doesn't know them at all, which is a bunch of BS. Because if you're spending enough time with Kaylee, where the G fam considers you fam, I'm sure you've been around the friends and the roommates. Let's just be honest. And I'm just going to say, you probably were kicking it in some, at some of the parties, weren't you, player?
Probably.
So then you got a sorority sister, a really good friend, a neighbor, and then a DoorDash driver. So then you start to look at the commas and you're going, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Where's the comma between MM and DoorDash? And where's the comma between DoorDash and EG? Because there should be one. And so when you're looking at that right there, that to me tells me that these individuals were together. So when DM texts EG at 2:13 in the morning, EG's out driving. He's out driving with MM. And who knows what they're both doing, because as much as EG made me suspicious for all of those reasons why, MM gives me the same suspicious vibes. And then when we look at the crime and we sit there and go, dang, for one person to do this crime like they're Batman, but show up like Joe Dirt and leave like Joe Dirt. When you're looking at the numbers says when you got two people, that's how you can show up like Joe Dirt, leave like Joe Dirt, and be effective like Batman, because you got one person going up one room and another person going to another. Batman.
Right.
Don't tell me this was a clerical error. Look at all these look at all these commas. Look at all these commas. You got a comma and 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 a comma, no comma, no comma, and a comma. Crazy, isn't it?
It is crazy. And we almost missed it, but it's actually obvious when you look at it like that.
That's not clerical. That to me, that says they were together. Where's the comma? I bet you it was a DoorDash. And I bet you they DoorDash while they're dropping students off.
I mean, that makes sense.
And how many of the students get food from the grub truck, especially when you can get it DoorDashed? And how late is the grub truck open? Oh, it's open late. It's just crazy. I don't know. We were reading through that document, and when we were reading through it, it just, to me, when I seen DoorDash and EG, my mind instantly went, oh, that's supposed to say Uber if it was gonna say something, right?
Right.
But then after the show, I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, that's weird. There's no comma. And then later on last night, it's like, well, this is Madison Moy, Matt Moy, the brother of the sister. So then all of a sudden, I'm just like, wait a minute, these dudes had to have been together.
Yeah. I mean, when we looked at it yesterday, my eyes skipped over it because I thought it was a typo or something, and I wasn't paying attention. But now that you've actually seen it, it doesn't make sense.
So, yeah, so let's go back to the text messages, right? Let me see. I have to pull that up. Because I have to pull up. I'm going to pull up the old document first. Because I do want to get into those today as well. Let me pull up the... Right here. Let me pull up the old one. We'll get into the new one in a little bit.
Right.
Right. So look. So when you're going back to this, right? Okay. Inquiring if he was driving. It doesn't tell you.
Yeah.
It doesn't tell you what the conversation was, right? MM calls BF.
Yeah. And we all just
Okay.
assume, like, but there's nothing to say that's, Maddie Logan.
Right. So when you're looking at that, then you're like, Dylan and BF were already kicking it. Okay. And let me oh my gosh. Okay, so you know how in the very beginning, this is also wild, you guys. Okay, you know how in the very beginning you're saying, we all thought BF had left, right? Saw the roommates, but didn't necessarily stay there. Then when the court documents come out, the text messages, and I'm sitting there seeing this creates a new contact, I'm like, no, that's when DM got dropped off, right?
Right.
Let me paint a scenario for you based off of old notes and really fresh notes when it comes to these documents. EG and MM were out together. EG and MM were out together with DM and BF. EG and MM dropped off DM and BF together right before the crime took place. It wasn't just DM, in my opinion, anymore that got dropped off at 3:51 p.m. In my opinion, it was also Bethany. Because when you see this call right here, and this is a half an hour after this call right here, and then you go back to this document right here, and to me, that says that they were together. So now, when you know that they are together, and you go back to this one, well, all of this right here makes a lot more sense.
It does.
And adds layers that I didn't even think of before until seeing this right here.
Wow.
Right
And
before the crime.
in terms of the new contact, do you still think that was a burner phone?
Oh, when it comes to a new contact, maybe DM didn't have MM in her text messages
That's
or her
possible.
phone.
Yeah.
And that was the contact that DM created.
It's starting to make sense. That way.
Yes, Demon. BF was at the frat party, but look, remember what? Go back to the PCA and remember what Bethany stated, that she saw them go home around 1:45 a.m., right? look what time, excuse me, look what time this activity takes place after what Bethany stated in the PCA.
Right.
This takes place after. So yes, her statement in the PCA can be correct because she was just stating what time she's seen everybody get home or asleep. So
it's
this
possible.
right here. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
She's just saying it's possible for her to have said that in the PCA accurately and still. Right. I mean, she could have done all of that.
She probably told him what happened. They just didn't put that part in the PCA. They only used the part of her stating that she's seen them home. That she didn't see them home. But so then you think about like this, right? Why would, if law enforcement had this information in the very beginning, because if we go back to this article right here, which is with Madison Moy, and we go back to this article right here, this article is telling you that the timeline was still between 3 and 4 a.m.
Exactly.
So if they're thinking that this crime took place between 3 and 4 a.m., and they already had this information, what happens between 3 and 4 a.m.? MM calls BF. Look at the timestamp, 2:53 in the morning. Who was calling who shortly before that? Jack was getting called.
Yes.
Jack was getting called by 2 phones. Not at the same time.
Right.
So then you go back, you're like, well, they already had this information right here for weeks already, because that article was weeks after. For weeks, they were still thinking 3 to 4 a.m. Well, then you're looking at this and you're going, well, why did they think between 3 and 4 a.m. when all of this activity right here was taking place from 4 to 4:30, right? Something about law enforcement in the very beginning of the case was very suspicious about this.
Yeah.
So then add the delay of the 911 call. How do you explain the delay of the 911 call to the point where one of your friends that's showing up is telling you, requesting you, both of you, to call 911?
I mean,
because you might have known.
Yeah, exactly. We've always thought that that was a possibility.
Because you might have knew or had an idea of who the people were. And you don't want to believe it's true. You don't want to face reality. You don't want to have to find out if your suspicions are correct. You look at the ski mask drawing. You could find a better drawing on a cereal box of a ski mask than you can with that. The downplay the downplay of information. Again, when one of your friends has to request both of you to call 911, you don't want to face the truth. You don't want to face the truth. That's why you didn't know if your friend was still breathing when you called 911 in the afternoon, because you didn't want to face the truth. And you didn't want to face the truth because what happened between 2 and 3 a.m. that made you not want to know? that made you not want to face the truth. Why? Because maybe something took place on that ride back. Maybe something happened somewhere. Think about how intoxicated they were. You think about creepos like these dudes and what they could, intoxicated females, not aware all the way. Creepo dudes, sickos, predators. And what they might try and do and manipulate. I don't know. When you go back to their original timeline in the beginning, 3 to 4 a.m., and this is all the information they had in the very beginning, because they took their phones right away.
Yeah.
They took their phones right away.
So I was just checking something in the PCA because I remembered 2:53 a.m. as well. It was one of the sightings of what they're calling suspect vehicle 1, but it was in Nevada Street. But do you think it's because it's the exact same time, 2:53? Do you think maybe they made that call from
in Pullman
at all? Yeah, is that at all possible? Because it's not like it's 2:54 or 2:52. It says 2:53 as well.
Well, they didn't, at that period of time, they didn't have they hadn't gone through all of the footage yet.
Okay. I was just wondering why that time would repeat.
Yeah, to come up with the timeline for suspect vehicle 1. At that very beginning, they were going off of witness statements, cell phone activity, conversations between other, the text messages and stuff. The video evidence, especially when you're getting all the way into Pullman, that was probably towards the end of their investigation into the evidence, because they probably, you start from the inside and then you work your way out, and you go from there, and it kind of leads you to Pullman. So within the first weeks of the crime taking place, I believe they came up with that timeline based off of this activity. This activity right here. Yeah. I think that this right here was inquiring is because establishments are closed at 2 a.m. and you're waiting out there, and you need to get a ride, and I think that's when I wouldn't be surprised if this right here is MM calling BF to leave his phone number on her phone so she can add it as a contact.
I think it's too much of a coincidence now. I don't actually think that's Maddie Mogan.
It's
I'm convinced. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah, and because when you're looking at this is why I started to put 2 and 2 together, was because I was like, where's the comma?
Yeah.
This means they were together, because it's not a clerical. You look at all these other commas. Comma, 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 chameleon. And then you got no comma right there. To me, that tells me they were together. So this whole area right here with these text messages, that they were double dating on the ride home. and it makes me wonder, like, it makes me wonder what happened. What
Yeah.
happened? And because these girls, think about it like this. This would explain all of the activity the rest of that morning. Something negative happens on that way back, right? Something negative happens on that way back. The girls go back. They're like, man, that was weird. Something was off, but hey, we're, you know, then all of
Yeah.
a sudden something bad happens. They might have an idea based off of what took place inside the car. They might have it like, oh my gosh, does this have something to do with it? Mr. EG wants to distance himself from knowing, or even knowing, who the two surviving roommates are. The two surviving roommates aren't saying nothing, aren't calling nobody, ain't calling nobody until a friend comes over 8 hours later. And then when they're talking about what took place, being interviewed, they're, I don't know, it could have been a dream. You're distancing. And then when you think about the exculpatory evidence that Bethany supposedly has, what
Right.
could that exculpatory evidence be? It could be, well, I kind of thought, I don't know, something weird took place on that ride back. And I think maybe it could be these people instead.
Oh my God.
Because remember, Bethany was a little confused. She was saying, well, Xana was wearing all black.
Right.
But then when Dylan and her get together, all of a sudden, Bethany is like, oh, crap. And the exculpatory evidence is part of a witness statement of it being somebody else, somebody other than Brian Koberger. So maybe multiple individuals,
Right.
not just other DNA that couldn't be qualified to be tested. Huh.
Yeah. Because, I mean, they have been talking about the possibility of presenting alternate suspects in the court documents that we've been seeing. So it is on the defense's mind. It definitely is. So that would make so much sense, especially with it being what is exculpatory. And I mean, I think that was just left in there as a mistake. They didn't like it. They probably wanted to redact it, but it actually does. It clears up so much.
Everything makes sense.
Yeah.
If this is the scenario, all of it, the delay, the exculpatory evidence, the crime itself, somebody showing up sloppy, leaving sloppy, I mean, really effective inside, all of these things, the distancing, yes, on like all of these things, and then you put this into play, and you're just because of this one comma
Right.
that's missing, it's like, I understand it now. How the girls and Dylan probably had an idea, just like Bethany did, but Dylan was the one trying to distance like crazy. Who was the one Eric was trying to distance like crazy? Dylan. Because he didn't even want to mention texting her when it came to the events that night. And how he knew the three females that were all victims. Nothing. And yes, they do live in Abu Dhabi. Yeah, the brother and the sister. Isn't that weird too? We were discussing that last night about the Moyes. We were like, I wonder why they're both living in Abu Dhabi. United Emirates. What? United Arab Emirates. I don't know. It's just, My first question was this not was my first question was, is this part of a volunteer
It was.
program? Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
trust me, we're doing a document show, but I wanted to discuss this with you guys first because it pertains to the documents. Now, when it comes to the other stuff, the Abu Dhabi, we'll talk about that in a show coming up. Trust me, okay? Like we got to stick to the documents. Oh gosh, you got
Want to though.
I want. Trust me, I want to, but we got to discuss. We got to discuss some of these documents. So, speaking of, and when it comes to the documents, Rosie, I know you had some. I have some certain ones I would like to discuss. We're obviously going to have a part 3 coming up, so I think it'll be good. Instead of just doing shows where it's all over the place, it'll be in different parts. So, and and I got the banners up there, and in the titles, I'm gonna update the titles after each one just to show all the documents that we go through. But it'll be a good kind of little playlist or whatever where you can get caught up on a lot of the major ones anyway.
And I have a feeling that by the time we're done, there'll be more.
Probably, I know. Every 2 days, every 3 days, all of a sudden there's just there's a whole bunch. I'm like having conversations like with others. Like, should I just cover one case right now? Because like seriously, I'm trying to do all these other cases and all these documents drop, and I'm like, how do I even keep up at this point? So really, it's just, who knows? Maybe. Rosie, maybe it'll turn into a document show. I don't know. It just every day, documents and coffee. Documents and coffee. Speaking of, I need some. It's early. What do you want me to go through? One of the one. First of all, what ones do you want to go through? And I'll tell you what ones I want to go through, and we'll. Okay. I'm sure we won't go through all of them for each of us, but
yeah. Okay, so the one that I wanted to go through was a little bit long, but we could skip. It was the self-authentication of records in reliance on, and then there's all of those Idaho codes, which I printed out the codes in case we need to get legal. So.
Oh boy. Well, how long would you anticipate that?
There's a lot we can skip, but I've noticed that a couple of people are interested in BK's crime scene assignment, which is in here. So even if we just skip through the beginning and read that and then come back to the rest of the document another time, but this is also the one that's got it mentions the balaclava purchase. Yeah. So maybe we can just do the beginning of it and then skip the attachments and just do BK's assignment. If you and chat like that idea.
Well, this is what I was gonna do. I was gonna mention them, and then I was gonna let chat decide for today. So that one you wanna the self-authentication.
Yes.
Okay. And it is a good one. Trust me. There's a lot of good ones in there, and we could always start off with that one. I since we were discussing the text messages and the 911 call, those were two of the main ones that I would like to hit today. There's some other ones like make and model. Different things like that I would like to, but we can get into that in another one. But I definitely would like to do text 911 call and then the self-authentication. And is there another one?
No, but this one is really long. In fact, if you want to go through your two choices first maybe and then do the other one at the end, otherwise I'm scared we won't get to your priorities.
Well, you said something about splitting it in half.
Yeah, yeah.
We could always do. We could always do whatever half you want to do first. Then we could do the text 911 call and then end it with the other half.
Cool.
You want to do
If
that?
Cat-
What?
Cat
What?
agrees.
Yeah. What do you guys think? What do you guys want to hear first? Do you want to hear the text, the 911 call, or the self authentication? And yeah, the criminal student stuff. Isn't that? It was. It's like when the documents came out and I dug into them a couple days ago. That's why I was like, man, there's a lot of stuff, and there's some stuff on each side. There really is. There's a little bit on the other side too, and I'm like, huh. I where's the trial? This trial better be televised because I need to see it. It's why I said the Picasso stuff.
Yeah.
I want to know what that paint's made out of, the oil pastels, you know. I want to see what it's made out of. You have to.
Yeah, of course. I'm not seeing what people want.
And yeah, this is a criminology student had a crime scene assignment. And it's like, yes, it's just think about it like this. Whenever I'm going through the footage of me going to the back of the house, remember how I tell you about when I pulled up to the back, I was like, this is how this person got in. Right? That I'm not even a student. So if I'm showing up at the back at 11:22 and I'm sitting there going, well, damn, you can gain access right here very easily based off of stuff that is you don't have to bring anything with you. You gain access up here, and then you gain access in the last door anybody would think or check. Oh no, that means that I went in 11:22, right? No.
I was waiting for that.
Oh.
How could you, CJ?
So we can go over that if you want.
Sure.
I mean, seriously though, think about it. What if it was a student? What if it was a class of how to gain access? How do you gain access? Okay, well, I'd gain access this way. What tools would you use? Well, I'd probably use this tool and that tool. What clothes would you wear? Well, I'd probably wear these clothes. How would you get to the scene? Well, I'd probably get there this way. I mean, it's to test. It's to test knowledge, right?
Right.
Hey, yeah. Leap over the Heather from yesterday. No, knocking the mouse out of his hand. Whoa. Right? Yep. I'm about to click on this link, and then all of a sudden, no. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to see that explained in court.
Listen, the video is up here. I wish I could produce it. All right. I wish there was like what's up, gorgeous? I wish there was like a VR machine I could just hook up and plug in, and you guys could see the little animation of somebody knocking the mouse out of Koberger's hand before he got the Amazon order done. Oh boy. Oh boy. What are you up to, gorgeous? What's up? If you want to hop, if you're not busy this morning, now you know you're a busy lady. If you're not busy, let me know. I'll send you a link. We're gonna get into this self-authentication, but definitely check out I want to know what you think about the no comma. I interviewed the TikToks. Oh, dang. Let me know what you think about the no comma. I think EG and MM were together. I think EG and MM were doing some shady ass shit, and Bethany and Dylan were with them, and they got dropped off together right before the crime took place. I don't know, the no comma. Yeah, it was good stuff. Self-authentication, my ass. It's like, don't buy a tarp, because then somebody's gonna be like, "Yeah, you buried that motherfucker." Yeah, no, no, don't get tarps, people.
Now that I know your guys' phones listen to you as well. That's...
yeah. Don't buy tarps. Don't talk true crime.
And pluck your eyebrows.
Yeah, pluck your eyebrows. Buzz. Don't get a tarp.
Life skills.
And if you're going to class for something, act stupid, right?
Yes.
Act stupid. Because if you want to tell people, like I said, when I pulled up to the back of 1122, and it was like, well, damn, that'd be easy to gain here, and then that's the door nobody would check. Son of a bitch! Now I'm being accused of breaking in 1122. No, I didn't cross that crime scene tape. There was federal agents there during my trip. You're out of your damn mind.
Respect the crime scene.
Seriously, I know. I pulled up right. I think it was the first day or the second day. The first day or the second day, I showed up. Yeah, you can see in one of my footage, you can see the agent's SUV as I pulled up next to it. Yeah. I mean, I had to, though. They were going to tear the house down, No, shout out to you. You're doing some awesome shows, gorgeous. All right, Rosie, go. She is.
I think I got cut out, but I was saying that she really is.
Yeah. She's killing it with that, and that damn cowbell too. That damn cowbell. I listen whenever I hear the cowbell, like, on her show, I always think of the skit from Saturday Night Live, with what's his name, Will Ferrell, and the actor. What's that actor's name?
I don't even know it. I've never seen it.
You've never seen his prescription is more cowbell? You never seen the cowbell skit? Really? Oh my gosh. After the show's over, because I'll get in trouble playing it here, but but after the show's over, I'll send you the video of it. It's hilarious. I can't remember his name. But sorry, go ahead. We'll get what part let me see here. Self-authentication, and what page are we going to be starting on the part that you want to start off with?
Okay, how about we start at the beginning and then just read a few pages of the actual, what is this word?
Let me see.
The list of what the state says they're going to be using. I don't know. I'm sure there's a proper word for that. And then from there, we just skip to his assignment.
Okay. Thank you, Lord Helmet. It was Christopher Walken. Yeah, I'd play it if I could.
That's okay. I'll look it up.
I would.
I'm always late to know things.
I would definitely. That's a powerhouse money maker over there. They'd definitely slap you. They would. All right, so we'll get into this one right off from the beginning.
Yeah.
And how's your voice today, by the way, Rosie? Like, you doing good? Like, shout out to you yesterday, man. After the show was done, I was like, damn, I I didn't think there was that much reading for you. And damn, I got done with the show and I sat there and I was like, damn, she pretty much read for 3.5 hours there out of the whole show.
I was
I'm
so
like, damn,
self-conscious because like I'm good at
I hope
reading.
you're
Like,
okay.
no, I'm fine. I was just like, do I sound like I'm in primary school? Do I sound like I can't read?
No, you're great. No, you're great. Everybody in chat was like, hey, yeah, like they love it, So
Okay.
no, because after I got done, I was like, damn, she could just make a podcast out of that and upload it if she wanted
I used to lecture, so it's fine.
All right. So we'll get the half and half today. All right. So what page do you want me to start on? And yes, thank you again for reading. If you're not subscribed to Rosie, here's her channel. And I'm actually going to be joining her channel for some shows coming up soon on some cases that I don't even know about. So I'm going to be learning with Rosie over at her channel.
Okay, you just named the playlist.
Yeah, learning with Rosie. Hey, I'm here. I'm here and I got my coffee, Rosie. What do we got? All right.
Okay. Should we start from just
Wherever.
the state seeks to rely?
Sure. Yeah, wherever you want to. It's up to you.
Okay.
I mean, you just let me know. I'm just gonna try and make sure I do the pages right so I don't mess you up.
You know what I was doing yesterday? I had my mouse. I was trying to scroll, and I was like,
Yeah, it's like if you want, I can let you screen share if you want.
No. It's fine.
I could do that. Okay. Okay.
Okay. All right. So the state seeks to rely on self-authenticating evidence as opposed to calling foundational witnesses in order to accomplish the same. It is understood that admission would be contingent upon the state laying a proper foundation with a certificate or affidavit under the IRE 803 sub 6 or sub 8 and the requirements of the IRE 902 sub 4 or sub 11. It is also understood that admission would be dependent on the state showing the relevance of this evidence, replying specifically to the defendant's response. Okay, so one is Linda Lane surveillance from November 13th, 2022. This footage is maintained by a property management company. The state would seek admission of this footage pursuant to IRE 803 sub 6. The relevant footage is taken on November 13th, 2022, approximately 0.3 miles from 1122 King Road, or the crime scene. The state may rely on video footage around 3:29 a.m. showing the suspect vehicle that in the area of the crime scene prior to the homicides. The state is in the process of obtaining a certificate of authenticity. Okay, 2, Linda Lane surveillance footage for November 13th, 2022. This footage is maintained by the same property management company as 1320 Linda Lane. The state would seek admission of this footage pursuant to IRE 803 sub 6. The relevant footage is taken on November 13th, 2022, approximately 0.3 miles from 1122 King Road, or the crime scene. The state may rely on video footage from approximately 3:30 a.m. to 4:07 a.m., showing the suspect vehicle traveling around the area of the crime scene prior to the crimes. The state is in the process of obtaining a certificate of authenticity. Number 3 is Albertson's video surveillance and business records for November 13th, 2022. This footage is maintained by Albertson's Grocery in Clarkston, Washington. The state would seek admission of this footage pursuant to IRE 803 sub 6. The relevant footage is taken on November 13th, 2022. The state may rely on video footage from approximately 12:46 p.m. to 1:06 p.m. to show defendant's vehicle and actions hours after the crimes. The state is in the process of obtaining a certificate of authenticity. Amazon financial and user records for Brian Koberger regarding purchase history. The state, what? Okay. Regarding purchase history, the state is attaching a certificate of authenticity dated 12/30/22. Okay, I'm not looking there.
I muted it too, just in case. I don't want to. I'm sorry. I don't want to interrupt you. No.
But how am I going to focus? Okay, not looking there. Regarding purchase history, the state is attaching a certificate of authenticity dated 12/30/22 pursuant to IRE 803 sub 6 and 902 sub 11 from Amazon.com. States Exhibit S1. This certificate was included with an Excel data file that details Brian Koberger's subscription information and order history from January 5, 2022 to December 13, 2022. At trial, the state intends to offer the certificate with the attached records as an exhibit. Defendant was provided with this information on May 18, 2023. Regarding click history, the state is attaching a certificate of authenticity pursuant to IRE 803 sub 6 and 902 sub 11 from Amazon.com. The state's exhibit S2. This references something which is related to the Excel data file by the same name that details subscription information, click activity, and sign-in history of the defendant as directed in the underlying search warrant. At trial, the state intends to offer the certificate with the attached records as an exhibit. Defendant was provided this information on July 12, 2023. Yeah, they're in the process of obtaining the state incorporates state's response to defendant's motion in limine number 9 regarding excluding Amazon click activity evidence at trial, which was filed on March 17, 2025. To this reply. Okay, number 5 is AT&T phone records for Brian Koberger, MMX and XK. The hard drive is provided. The above AT&T records are relied upon by the state's expert witness, Nicholas Balance, as detailed in his expert disclosures. A certificate of authenticity is attached as Exhibit S3, which was included with the return of Brian Koberger's AT&T records for November 12 to November 14, 2022. This was provided to the defendant around April 4, 2023. A certificate of authenticity is attached as Exhibit S4, which was included with the return for Brian Koberger's AT&T records for June 23, 2022 to December 23, 2022. This was provided to defendant around April 4, 2023. A certificate.
Right here.
Really? Oh, okay.
Oh, wait.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, because you just got done with this one, right?
No, the second one sounds the same, but it's fine.
Oh.
Call detail records, you're probably right. Call detail records were provided for both MM and XK, discovered on May 16, 2024, and again on August 16, 2024. The state intends to obtain a certificate of authenticity from AT&T that comports with IRE 803 sub 6 and 902 sub 11 prior to offering the exhibit. Number 6 is the Bagel Shop video surveillance video for November 13th, 2022. Hard drive provided. This footage is maintained by a business. The state would seek admission of this footage pursuant to IRE 803 sub 6. The relevant footage is taken on November 13th, 2022 from approximately 1:40 a.m. to 2 a.m. This evidence provides a timeline of events for KG and MM before the crimes and corroborates the state's witness testimony. The state is in the process of obtaining a certificate of authenticity. Bank of America records for BF and XK. Hard drive provided on 4/5/23. The state no longer intends to rely on this evidence evidence. If the state does, it will lay the proper foundation at trial. Banner banking records for EC. Hard drive provided.
It will lay the, if the state does, it will lay the proper foundation at trial.
It says that for all of them that they no longer intend to use. So they're just kind of like reserving the right to change their mind, I think.
Huh. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it.
Okay. Cafe Artista video surveillance video for November 13th, 2022. This footage is maintained by a business. The state would seek admission of this footage pursuant to IRE 803 sub 6. The relevant footage is taken on November 13th, 2022 at approximately 1:40 a.m. This evidence provides a timeline of events for KG and MM before the crimes and corroborates the state witness testimony. The state is in the process of obtaining a certificate of authenticity. Number 10, the Corner Club video surveillance video, November 12th to 13th.
You know, it's April. It's like 6 months, 5-6 months after the crime, and you still don't have authenticity. Yeah. Like how? How do you? Okay,
and I don't think it's that difficult to get. I really don't. You just
it's not. It's not. You're talking like if they listen. If something happened at Cafe Arista and they broke in and stole coffee grounds, the video surveillance is going to be authenticated very quickly, right?
Right.
So I don't understand where all these delays are. I don't know. It's just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and it says them for a lot of it.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
it's just crazy. It's all April, and it's like, come on, people.
Corner Club video surveillance for November 12 to 13, 2022. This footage is maintained by a business. The state would seek admission of this footage pursuant to IRE 803 sub 6. The relevant footage is taken on November 12, 2022 at approximately 10:20 p.m. through November 13, 2022 at approximately 1:37 a.m. This evidence provides a timeline of events for KG and MM before the crimes and corroborates state witness testimony. The state is in the process of obtaining a certificate of authenticity. Corner Club financial transactions receipts of sales from November 13, 2022. These documents are maintained by a business. The state would seek admission of the documents pursuant to IRE 803 sub 6. The relevant portion is attached as State's Exhibit S5. The evidence provides a timeline of events for KG and MM before the crimes and corroborates the state's witness testimony. The state is in the process of obtaining a certificate of authenticity. Costco in Clarkston, Washington. Surveillance video for November 13th, 2022. This footage is maintained by a business, Costco Wholesale in Clarkston, Washington. The state would seek admission of this footage pursuant to IRE 803 sub 6. The relevant footage is taken on November 13th, 2022. The state may rely on video footage from approximately 11:59 a.m. to show defendant's vehicle and actions hours after the crimes. The certificate of authenticity is attached as Exhibit S6, which was included with the return for Costco records. This was provided to the defendant on May 18, 2023. DeSales.
Yeah, DeSale. Here we go.
DeSale student records regarding Brian Koberger. These documents are maintained by a private university. The state would seek admission of this document pursuant to IRE 803 sub 6 and 902 sub 11. The state has attached the relevant evidence which would be introduced to show the defendant's knowledge of crime scenes. State's Exhibit S7. The state is in the process of obtaining a certificate of authenticity. Okay, yeah, this is the big one.
Yeah. You know, because
Yeah.
he was screwed over by Dick's Sporting Goods. That is.
Yes. Okay.
That's a dad joke, Rosie.
I know.
That's
I'm well aware. Okay. Dick's Sporting Goods record of sale for Brian Koberger. These documents are maintained by a business. The state would seek admission of the documents pursuant to IRE 803 sub 6. The relevance of this information is that Brian Koberger purchased a black balaclava from Dick's Sporting Goods on January 10, 2022. This mask is the same type of mask described by DM that she witnessed worn by a male in the residence on November 13, 2022. A certificate of authenticity is attached as Exhibit S8, which was included in the return for Dick's records. This was provided to defendant on May 18th, 2023. Discover financial records for KG. The state no longer intends to rely on this evidence. If the state does, it will lay the proper foundation at the trial.
DoorDash.
Okay. DoorDash for XK and EC. These documents are maintained by a business. The state would seek admission of the documents pursuant to IRE 803 sub 6. The state may rely on the attached records, which is State's Exhibit S9, from DoorDash regarding a delivery to 1122 King Road on November 13th, 2022 at 3:59 a.m. This particular evidence provides a timeline of events for XK before the crimes and corroborates state witness testimony. This was provided to defendant on May 26, 2023. The state is in the process of obtaining a certificate of authenticity.
So I'm going to pause that real quick for a second.
Yeah.
So if the DoorDash was for XK and EC, and we go back to this, because remember, 359 right here, DoorDash regarding a delivery at 1122 King Road at 3:59. You go back to this text message. 3:51 puts the contact in her phone. You go back to this document. MM is with EG. 3:51 put contact and phone. 3:59 DoorDash. It's all lining up.
And add into that this is a time where she says she was asleep. She's not admitting to this contact. Like, it's always been maintained that she was definitely asleep at this time. And why do you need to be asleep if you actually weren't?
And why, when you're looking at these, why do you not see any contact between, if the DoorDash was for Zaina and Ethan? Well, where's that activity on this log here?
You mean the order going through?
What I'm saying is that I think, okay, so you got MM calling BF at 2:53.
Right.
Okay. You got you got these two where they're together.
Mhm.
You got the delivery going there at 3:59 for XK and EC. XK and EC. So then you go back to here, DM and BF are in the contacts. Okay? There's no contacts with XK and EC.
Okay.
I don't know what you mean, Anna. I've highlighted your comment already about the car, so I don't know what you have to give up, but okay. I mean, I said hi in the beginning of the show. You could rewind the tape, and then also I highlighted your comment about the car. I don't know what else to tell you. It's not rainy every day, but when I'm just saying. I mean, I don't know. How is that being ignored? I don't know. Check the tape. But 351, DM creates the contact. There's no, when it comes to the DoorDash, there's no communication with DoorDash from XK or EC. And so when you're looking at this, where's the contact between XK and EC? There is no contact with DoorDash because you're looking at the two people that they claim are DoorDash or Uber, right? E.g., MM. This right here, they're together. Where is XK and EC on this log here that shows the activity more of MM and EG? It's not. Just like when it comes to the text messages between these two, it's not telling you what's in the text message either.
See, the way I understood that, and I might be wrong, and I might be understanding you wrong as well, so just let me know. The way I understood it was that they haven't put any of the victims' phone activity in, or they haven't made any of that public. So this list would just be originating from the download of DM and BF's phones?
No, it's redacted.
Oh, okay. Okay, no.
It's redacted because if they're getting a DoorDash delivered at 3:59,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Don't you think there would be some kind of notification on there, right? Don't you think there would be some kind of now, yeah, you may have the notification from the app, but why would you be doing it on the app when these people are in direct communication with them? See, what's going on is that, like, remember when I said in the beginning of the show, like, they DoorDash, but they are dropping the students off too?
I understand, yeah.
So instead of going through the actual DoorDash company where you gotta file taxes and you have to pay a certain percentage and you only get a certain cut, they're gonna be the ones that are doing their own DoorDash. Hit me up on this burner phone, right? Hit me up on this Walmart $20 burner phone, and then I get the cash, and then I don't have to report it according to what they're doing. They don't have to report it. They skip the middleman. They get to keep all the profits, and nobody knows about it. So
Yeah.
while they're dropping off the students, hey, yeah, I'm right because everything is a couple minutes within each other in Moscow. Yeah, I can swing by Taco Bell real quick. I'm gonna go pick up these students, drop them off here real quick, then I'll swing by, drop this person's food off. So when you have all of this activity between those specific individuals, right here, you have all of that activity between those specific individuals. Then you're going to here. Well, the DoorDash wasn't for anybody else.
Yeah.
You go here, they're together.
Yeah. I see.
You go here, creates a new contact in her phone.
Mm.
So it's almost like, I bet, like the between the two right here creates contact. Delivery gets made at 3:59. Person gains access.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The people that are all, I mean, Eric was there. You know, from what we know from Steve G. Steve G says that Eric was with him the whole night. Quote, chaperoning.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't just picking him up at Grub Truck and taking him home. He had picked him up before that and was taking him around.
And another thing that's kind of interesting is that in this document we're reading, the state is saying that they handed over those records and they gave a date. But in the document that they're responding to, the defense is saying that they only received DoorDash history for Ethan and that Xana's was not included. And the state is saying they've sent it, but the defense is still saying you didn't send it for Xana. So
you know why?
Yeah.
Because it's personal DoorDash.
Mm-hmm. And they're saying they sent it, but the defense is saying we did not receive that. We received DoorDash history for Ethan, but Xana got the order.
Because it's just like, you're gonna call it DoorDash.
Yeah.
You're gonna call it DoorDash, even if you're not working for DoorDash.
Yeah, same like you call a Lyft Uber. You call it Uber, but it's just someone picking you up.
Right. And when you're talking about them out there, they're going to do their own thing. They're just going to call it the DoorDash.
That makes sense.
And so, yeah, they're not going to hand it over because it doesn't exist. It's just like Uber driver. It started from Uber driver, which is just like DoorDash. And then what happened? Uber driver disappeared, didn't it? It turned into private driver. It turned into chaperone, right? You know why?
Mm-hmm.
Because Eric was the one that was out doing interviews. And so he couldn't provide Uber documentation, which, what was he doing? What is Uber? A private driver. What's a private driver without Uber? A private driver that gets all the profits. No Uber included. The DoorDash was always hidden. DoorDash was always hidden. Is it a girl? Is it a guy? You got different people going to Jack in the Box, and they're getting different stories of it being a guy and a girl, and everybody has different stories, just wants to show up on camera. But that's why it wasn't corrected. Watch it be corrected in this trial.
It's going to become private delivery.
Yeah, it shows a DoorDash receipt. But where? For Xana. Is it gonna show Ethan on TikTok? after 4? I don't know. It's just
I know what you mean.
the selection of what's included and what is missing.
It's all calculated.
Yeah, 359, Jack in the Box. But you listen to all the employees from Jack in the Box. How many people went out there and interviewed the employees? A whole bunch of people, and they all gave different stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, MM is the DoorDash. But when you're looking at this document, where's the comma? Look, Eric could have been the chaperone, and MM's the DoorDash. They're still riding together. they're still riding together. There would be a comma.
It's like it keeps getting worse with this case.
Well, and where's the activity from Zaina and Ethan?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're instructed to drop. Well, you can choose if you want to have it delivered in person, if you want to have it dropped off, if you want to have it dropped off at the door. You can choose, but even if you choose, there's been times where you can get stuff and you'll request for it to be dropped off at the door, and sometimes they just knock on your door anyway. It really, I mean, it in the beginning, yeah, it was like specific and whatever you instructed or whatever, but shit, nowadays people barely pay attention to that shit. They just show up and
That would never work in South Africa. Food would be stolen before you can get to the door. I'm just saying.
Blackhawk says, if I was a driver, heck no, I'm not going around back. But remember, Blackhawk, even though he stated he didn't even see the girls walk in because he didn't want to get robbed, he did also say that it's a safe area. I mean, even Madison Moy in the article said that it's a really safe area and nothing like that. Nothing happens. It's a really safe area, which I can imagine. It was probably, honestly, I mean, it's right in the middle of, it's a huge section of houses that are just a bunch of parties going on from one house to the next. The whole block, the whole block was a party. So I'm sure it was a happy-go-lucky, and if you're, I'm gonna be honest with you. If it was a spot where somebody would get robbed, it's not somebody that lives there. I mean, just common sense wise, like if somebody's gonna rob you from that area, you're probably gonna know who it is because they're not gonna be walking very far to go pick out potential potential people in that area, because there's only one way in and one way out. That means there's only one way, so the chance of you getting caught there would be
Yeah.
really high. And it's when you're in that area, you're going to go to uh populated areas where there's multiple accesses in and out, so you're not just tied down to one access. Yeah, they do. Sometimes they call too when they're there if you don't answer your door or whatever. Yeah. I don't know, to deliver back there. I mean, it was you got to remember it was pretty well lit up back there. They had those Christmas lights back there and the light from the front of the house. So it's probably pretty well lit, back there.
Yeah. And I mean, they probably also delivered there before, so like they were just familiar with in and out. It probably wasn't like the first delivery.
No. Well, when I'm looking at these messages, it even makes me wonder: was there multiple? Was there multiple deliveries?
Could have been.
Yeah, I don't know. It makes you wonder. All right.
Yeah.
We'll get back to the DoorDash. Yeah, just XKEC. But nothing else.
Yeah. Okay, so the state is in the process of getting the certificate of authenticity for that as well.
As well.
All right. Early warning records. What is that? What is early warning records?
Early warning records. It's mixed in with financial. Let me see.
Okay.
Early warning records. Maybe, hold on. So let me see. It's kind of mixed together. You got Dix with financial records, financial early warning. I don't know. What is that?
Maybe someone in chat knows what's early warning records.
Early warning?
Well, they're not using it anymore anyway, but I was just curious because
I wonder if it is I'm wondering if it was like early warning records, like maybe when the university would have sent out a notice.
Oh, maybe.
Like something happened, shelter in place.
Maybe. Okay. All right. Well, the state no longer intends to rely on this evidence. If the state does, it will lay the proper foundation at trial. ELAN financial records for KG. The state no longer intends to rely on this evidence. If the state does, it will lay the proper foundation at trial. E&S services. Johnson Avenue, Pullman, surveillance video for November 13th, 2022. This footage is maintained by a business. The state would seek admission of the documents pursuant to IRE 803 sub 6. The state may rely on video footage from November 13th, 2022 at around 5:26 a.m. showing the suspect vehicle after the crimes in Pullman, Washington. A certificate of authenticity is attached as Exhibit S10, which was obtained prior to the grand jury. This was provided to the defendant with grand jury materials in July of 2023. Farmers insurance surveillance video for November 13th, 2022. The state no longer intends to rely on this evidence. If the state does, it will lay the proper foundation at trial. Floyd's Cannabis Code.
I don't know why you wouldn't. If it's surveillance video that shows the vehicle, but it just says surveillance video.
Yeah. And they're kind of like just reserving the right to bring it back later if they change their mind. But
Yeah, but you think you'd include it? You
of
think it'd
course,
be, you know?
yeah.
Then we got Judge John Judge's favorite spot. I wonder if they are still obtaining the certificate of authenticity for Judge John Judge's visits before court.
They are.
I mean, that's a good question, Ben Reuter. Are they not going to use these videos because it shows a different white car? Well, in my opinion, there's two different vehicles. One that's showing up that they released, and one that's leaving. They're two different vehicles. So maybe it shows the Dodge instead
Yeah.
of the Elantra,
It's not helpful for them.
the Hyundai. Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, it's like if you have it, you would think that you would have it included.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Back to Floyd's cannabis co-surveillance video from November 13, 2022. This footage is maintained by a business. The state would seek admission of the video footage pursuant to IRE 803 sub 6. The state may rely on video footage from November 13, 2022 at around 3:02 a.m. showing a white sedan on State Route 270 between Pullman, Washington and Moscow, Idaho, approximately 1 hour before the crimes. The state is in the process of obtaining a certificate of authenticity.
Don't you think that would be like a hot seller? You know, you got JJJ's gummy shop. You know, he's going to be retiring soon, and you know, I'm sure that most of the country will be transitioned pretty soon, where you can have stores for it, and he could be a gummy farmer up there. Can you imagine his face? Can you imagine his face like when he's from like in those old court hearings where he's just kind of like leaning back in his chair, looking up at the corner of the wall, just kind of going. And that you'd have some kind of cool design behind his face, you know. JJJ's gummy shop. Oh yeah, it'd be a hot ticket.
That sounds like a real thing.
It'd be a hot ticket.
Yeah, but I'm also noticing with this one, in a lot of the others, they say the suspect's vehicle, and here they're only saying white sedan.
Yeah,
They're not getting too, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah, because in April, PCA was put out living document up until the arrest, and then it became the Exhibit A, and it says suspect vehicle all over it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and they're referring it. They're kind of dumbing it down, and this is in April. So you think, with all of the suspect vehicles that were mentioned just in the PCA alone, you think this would be saying suspect vehicle. It don't. There's a reason it don't, because it creates distance from the options that the truth it could be, which would be two white vehicles.
Exactly, and this one also doesn't have the certificate of authenticity, but a lot of the others do. A lot of the other car things do.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay. Forrest Dax. Is that right? Yeah. Crypto.com. Financial records for Brian Koberger. These records are maintained by a business. The state would seek admission of the records pursuant to IRE 803 sub 6. The state has provided information related to the relevancy of this item in its expert disclosure for, I think it means that financial analyst Michael Douglas. Financial analyst Douglas is a factual witness regarding this account. The state is in the process of obtaining a certificate of authenticity. Grub Truck video surveillance video for November 13, 2022. This footage is maintained by a business. The state would seek admission of this footage pursuant to IRE 803 sub 6. The relevant footage is taken on November 13, 2022 from approximately 1:43 a.m. to 1:53 a.m. PS. Is that Pacific, right?
Yeah, Pacific Standard Time. Mm-hmm.
Okay. This evidence provides a timeline of events for KG and MM before the crimes and corroborates state witness testimony. The state is in the process of obtaining a certificate of authenticity. Harbor Freight Business and Surveillance Records. The state no longer intends to rely on this evidence. If the state does, it will lay the proper foundation at trial. Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU. Bank records for MM. A hard drive was provided. Sorry.
Oh my lord, is everything okay? I never
Yeah.
hear those. I never hear those flying over.
No, it's fine.
That was close. That sounded like right above your damn house.
No, it's there's a couple of official buildings nearby.
Oh wow. Okay. Sorry, I never heard a plane flying by your house before. That was creepy.
Does happen often.
Often?
Hmm,
Oh, okay. Sorry.
no problem. Sorry about
That was
the-
crazy. I never hear a plane flying over your house. Okay.
Okay. Next page. Okay, the state no longer intends. They a little bit down. They probably no longer intend to rely on it at trial, and if they do, they'll lay the proper foundation, right?
Mhm.
Indian Mountain Lake surveillance and records. The state no longer intends to rely on this evidence. If the state does, it will lay the proper foundation at trial. Joanne Fabrics financial records. The state no longer intends to rely on this evidence. If the state does, it will lay the proper foundation at trial. Latah County Sheriff's Office Deputy Darren Duke body camera footage on August 21st, 2022. This is a public record pursuant to Rule 803 sub 6 and sub 8. The state is in the process of obtaining a certificate of authenticity. Latah County Sheriff's Office citation issued on August 21st, 2022. This is a public record pursuant to Rule 803 sub 6 and sub 8. The state is in the process of obtaining a certificate of authenticity. Marshall's financial records for Brian Koberger. The state no longer intends to rely on this evidence. If the state does, it will lay the proper foundation at trial. National Weather Service records for November 12 and 13, 2022.
What? 1 second. What were they saying he bought at Marshall's?
I think it was that suit.
The suit, right? Yeah,
Coverall.
the Dickie suit or whatever.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they intend to use that in trial
I don't know.
or rely on the?
I can't remember if it was a rumor, if it was in the documents, but people were saying that there was a receipt at his apartment
Yeah,
for something like that, and
yeah.
well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Why wouldn't you? I mean, no. I'm like if you're gonna use the Dick's, the Dick's purchase, why aren't you using the Marshalls?
Don't know.
It's part of it, right?
Mm.
That was a Walmart receipt for the Dickie suit. I thought it was Marshalls.
But they also say they won't be using Walmart in this document.
They what?
When we get to the Walmart records, they also say they won't be using it.
Well, why not? If that's the suit,
Yeah.
what was the thing for Marshalls?
I don't know.
What was the thing for Marshalls, Heather? But yeah, it's No, Marshall's right here. Marshall's financial records for Brian Koberger. I thought it was for the Dickie suit. Because I remember the Marshall's receipt from the very beginning, the Walmart one. I don't remember that from the very beginning.
I also thought it was
Financial?
yeah.
Yeah, to see if he had purchased, to see if Brian Koberger purchased whatever. But you, regardless, you think he would use it. National Weather Service records. Huh.
This is a public record under Rule 803 Sub 8. Certificates of authenticity for this item are attached as Exhibit S11. This was provided to the defendant with the corresponding records on March 20, 2025. Numerica bank records for, I think they mean KG. I think, yeah. Probably for KG. Hard drive was provided. The state no longer intends to rely on this evidence. If the state does, it will lay the proper foundation at trial.
Who would be KC? I wonder who. I mean, it probably is, but then in the beginning, MM was probably Maddie Mogan, and it wasn't. It was Maddie Moy or Matt Moy, which I think it was Matt Moy, the brother of the neighbor sorority sister. So who knows? Maybe KC isn't a typo, but probably is. I'll have to let that rack my brain a little bit today.
Okay.
After the show.
I'll also think about it, but I don't know the KC. Okay. PayPal and Venmo financial records. The hard drive was provided. Oh, okay. All right. Numerica bank records for KC. The state no longer intends to rely on this evidence. If the state does, it will lay the proper foundation at trial. PayPal and Venmo financial records.
You want me to skip that? Okay.
These documents are maintained by business. The state would seek admission of the financial records of defendant pursuant to IRE 803 sub 6. The state is in the process of obtaining a certificate of authenticity. PNC bank records for Brian Koberger. These documents are maintained by a business. The state would seek admission of the financial records of defendant pursuant to IRE 803 sub 6. The state has provided specifics regarding the relevance of this information in the state's expert disclosure for FOA Michael Douglas with attached expert report. Certificates of authenticity for this item are attached as Exhibits S12. This was provided to the defendant with the corresponding records on February 12, 2024. Pentel data records. The state no longer intends to rely on this evidence. If the state does, it will lay the proper foundation at trial. Pennsylvania State Employees Credit Union for Brian Koberger. These documents are maintained by a business. The state would seek admission of the financial records of defendant pursuant to IRE 803 sub 6. The state has provided specifics regarding the relevance of this information in the state's expert disclosure for FOA Michael Douglas with attached expert report. The state is in the process of obtaining a certificate of authenticity. Petco financial records for KG.
Okay. See how it says Petco financial records, right? It says the same thing for Marshall's financial records, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in the search warrant, the 2 Marshall receipts, right? Remember? And the Marshall receipt was supposed to be I could have swore it was for the Dickies suit.
Hmm.
I could have swore. So when you're looking at Marshall's, it's not like a Marshall's bank. It's saying financial records
Yeah.
because they're going through to see the purchases of each business. So I don't know. There's something about that Marshall's, regardless of how many receipts there were, they were going through the records to see what was exactly purchased.
Right.
And I remember mainstream media, after he was arrested and the search in Pennsylvania, they were discussing, well, this is proof that he bought the clothing to commit the crime. I don't know. For some reason. But yeah, these are all records to see of purchases. It doesn't mean it's an institution and a bank. No, they're checking the records to see if people purchased those particular items.
Okay. All right. Okay, so for the Petco financial records for KG, the state no longer intends to rely on this evidence. If the state does, it will lay the proper foundation at trial.
There we go.
Right. Should I just go from there? Okay, I'll go from.
Whoops! I forgot. I thought we were farther.
Okay. Okay. Rite Aid financial records. The state no longer intends to rely on this evidence. If the state does, it will lay the proper foundation at trial. Ross financial records. The state no longer intends to rely on this evidence. If the state does, it will lay the proper foundation at trial. Sunset Mart on Main Street in Moscow, Idaho. Surveillance video for November 13, 2022. The hard drive was provided. This footage is maintained by a business. The state would seek admission of the documents pursuant to IRE 803 sub 6. The relevant footage is taken on November 13, 2022, approximately 0.5 miles from the 1122 King Road, i.e. the crime scene. The state may rely on video footage around 3:28 a.m. showing the suspect vehicle in the area of the crime scene prior to the homicides. The state is in the process of obtaining a certificate of authenticity. Sunset Mart, Bishop Boulevard, Pullman, Washington. Surveillance video for November 13th, 2022. This footage is maintained by a business. The state would seek admission of documents pursuant to IRE 803 sub 6. The state may rely on video footage from November 13th, 2022 at approximately 5:25 a.m. and 5:26 a.m. showing the suspect vehicle in Pullman, Washington after the crimes. A certificate of authenticity is attached as Exhibit S13, which was obtained prior to the grand jury. This was provided to the defendant with grand jury materials in July 2023.
So when you're going south on Bishop Boulevard, so right where that Sunset Mart and there's the highway that leads you to Moscow, you turn south on Bishop Boulevard, and as you're going south on Bishop Boulevard and then going on the southeast corner of the city, that's an area where you utilize or can utilize the same tower that 1122 utilizes. Right off of that Bishop Boulevard, there's that turn off the highway, and you go south just a skosh, and then all of a sudden you're hitting right on the edge of that tower.
That's interesting. Okay. Target financial records. The state no longer intends to rely on this evidence. If the state does, it will lay the proper foundation at trial. TikTok user records for XK. These records are maintained by business. The state would seek admission of the records pursuant to IRE 803 sub 6. The records would show XK on the TikTok application on November 13th, 2022 at approximately 3:16 a.m. Pacific time. The state is in the process of obtaining a certificate of authenticity. TJX financial records for DM. The state no longer intends to rely on this evidence. If the state does, it will lay the proper foundation at trial.
TJ Maxx.
Is it called TJ Maxx? Okay.
Yeah, those are the letters for it.
Oh.
TJ Maxx.
T-Mobile phone records for KG and DM. The state records. These records are maintained by a business. The state would seek admission of the records pursuant to IRE 803 sub 6. Specifically, the state would seek to show the phone records for KG and DM on November 13th, 2022. This evidence provides a timeline of events for KG and DM before the crimes and corroborates state witness testimony. A certificate of authenticity for these records are attached as Exhibit S14. This was provided to the defendant with the corresponding records around April 4, 2023.
I don't know how to pronounce that one. Umka? Umpka? I don't know. Good luck.
Okay. Umpqua. How does that sound?
I don't know.
Bang.
Something like that. It's better than, yeah.
Okay.
Something like that. Umka.
Umpqua. Bank
Yeah.
records with DM. The state no longer intends to rely on this evidence. If the state does, it will lay the proper foundation at trial. Under Armour transaction records for Brian Koberger, the state no longer intends to rely on this evidence. If the state does, it will lay the proper foundation at trial.
Okay, Under Armour transaction records. Well, when you see the maybe just something that was, I don't know. You see the ski mask, and they keep showing it as a Under Armour. I don't know. It's just weird that they have an Under Armour transaction, even though the ski mask was from somewhere else. But still, I never heard of an Under Armour receipt.
No.
Or click activity from Under Armour. I never heard that either.
That's true as well, yeah. Actually.
Nothing about Under Armour.
Yeah, it's also the first time hearing of it, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. U.S. chef store in Clarkston, Washington. Video surveillance for November 13, 2022. This footage is maintained by a business. U.S. chef store in Clarkston, Washington. The state would seek admission of this footage pursuant to IRE 803 sub 6. The relevant footage is taken on November 13th, 2022. The state may rely on video footage from approximately 12:42 and 12:44 p.m. to show defendant's vehicle and the actions hours after the crimes. The state is in the process of obtaining a certificate of authenticity.
Mm-hmm. Now, see, and Anna had brought this up. Sometimes it states white vehicle, and in other instances, it states defendant's vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And yeah, the ski mask was bought at Dick's. But if you're looking at the ski mask that they're showing, it shows Under Armour on it, which, okay, well then you got to sit there and, just like I just said, where have we heard Under Armour anything? Because it wasn't Under Armour through Dick's. It was specifically Under Armour, and we know that the mask wasn't purchased through Under Armour, even though it has a Under Armour logo on it. So then when we never heard Under Armour, that's the question. So sorry if it confused anybody where the mask was, where it was purchased. All right. Let me see here. Ulta, Verizon, UF's Chef Store. Why wouldn't you want? I don't know. It's crazy the certificate of authenticity on all this footage.
Yeah.
Let's see. The state does not have a 49 listed. The state is keeping the same numbers as defendant's response for consistency. Huh. I mean, you have to put something in there, right?
You do. You do.
It's their fault.
Okay. Ultra financial records. The state no longer intends to rely on this evidence. If the state does, it will lay the proper foundation at trial. Verizon. Okay. Verizon phone records for ECBF and JD. These records are maintained by business. The state would seek admission of the records pursuant to IRE 803 sub 6. Specifically, the state would seek to show the phone records for EC, EJ, and JD on November 13, 2022. This evidence provides a timeline of events before the crimes and corroborates state witness testimony. Do they mean BF? Yeah, they do.
I don't. I think so because you got BF right here.
Okay.
But at the same time, who knows? Is there a KC and a BJ out there? We'll see. But I would assume because it shows the same thing right here. But you never know.
Okay. A certificate of authenticity with a record of the covering numbers is attached as Exhibit S15, which was included with the return attached to the Verizon call detail records for EC, BF, and JD. This was provided to defendant around April 4, 2023. Walmart surveillance and the state no longer intends to rely on this evidence. If the state does, it will lay the proper foundation at trial.
Not using Walmart.
Washington Department of Motor Vehicles surveillance video for November 18, 2022. The surveillance footage is maintained by business. The state would seek admission of records pursuant to IRE 803 sub 6. The state is in the process of obtaining a certificate of authenticity.
How are they in the process of attaining a certificate of authenticity when it comes from a Department of a Motor Vehicle building, which is part of the state, which is part of the government? It should already be authenticated because it's coming from the Department of Motor Vehicles, which is part of the state. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
How? It's one thing if you need to check 1112. But what Department of Motor Vehicles? Like that's where you get your license and your like real shit. So you don't think that's I don't know, it's crazy. I don't understand it. I really don't. Like it's got to mean there's got to be some kind of why would that even I don't understand why it would even be put in there. I really don't. It makes no sense to me. Why is it put in there? That's a Yoli question. Yoli, if you're watching in the background, Why does it? What is it with this process of obtaining a certificate of like they need to get a certificate from each company stating that this is authentic footage? Like we're waiting on the certificates to come in the mail or something. I mean, I don't understand. And you're talking 5-6 months later.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you want to make sure that it's authenticated, like before you start digging into it and using it? And I mean,
One would
I don't know.
expect.
It's not
Yeah.
making sense. Something's
No.
weird.
I know. Yeah. Okay. Washington Department of Motor Vehicles registration documents for Brian Koberger. These records are maintained by business. The state would seek admission of the records pursuant to IRE 803 sub 6. A certificate of authenticity is attached as S16 for Brian Koberger's vehicle registration. This was provided to defendant on April 6, 2023. A certificate of authenticity is attached as S17 for Brian Koberger's license records. This was provided to the defendant around July 2023 as part of the grand jury record. Washington Trust Bank records and images for Brian Koberger. These documents are maintained by business. The state would seek admission of the financial records of the defendant pursuant to IRE 803 sub 6. The state has provided specifics regarding the relevance of this information in the state's expert disclosure for FOA Michael Douglas with attached expert report. Certificates of authenticity are attached as S18, which was included with the records and the images. This was provided to the defendant on May 18, 2023. Wells Fargo Bank records for MM. The state no longer intends to rely on this evidence. If the state does, it will lay the proper foundation at trial. Winco financial records for Brian Koberger. The state no longer intends to rely on this evidence. If the state does, it will lay the proper foundation at trial. Winco financial records and video surveillance for BF, DM, KG, MM, and or XK. The state no longer intends to rely on this evidence. If the state does, it will lay the proper foundation at trial. Washington State University video surveillance for November 13th, 2022. Washington State University is a public institution. The state would seek admission of the documents pursuant to IRE 803 sub 6 and sub 8. The state may rely on video footage from November 13th, 2022 from approximately 5:28 a.m. to 5:30 a.m. showing the suspect vehicle after the crimes in Pullman, Washington. The state is in the process of obtaining a certificate of authenticity. Washington State University.
I don't understand how. I don't know. So this whole certificate, I'm sorry, the whole certificate of authenticity with all of this footage from institutions. I don't know. It's weird.
It is weird. It's starting to sound like no report, right?
Yeah, really. It's the new no report. We're waiting. We're in the process of obtaining a certificate of authenticity. Yeah, you're exactly right.
Yeah. Washington State University parking records. Washington State University is a public institution. The state would seek admission of records pursuant to IRE 803 sub 6 and sub 8. The state may introduce these records to show Brian Koberger's Hyundai Elantra was registered with the Washington State University system and had an active permit at Washington State University. The state is in the process of obtaining a certificate of authenticity. The state's reliance on the Idaho Rules of Evidence for self-authentication of certain business or public records does not violate the defendant's due process rights. The state is providing notice of the procedure the state will rely on for certain records. The state intends to lay the proper foundation through self-authentication or witness testimony. The relevance prior to admission of for all evidence the state will introduce at trial. Signed, Ashley Jennings.
Okay.
So,
And then here's the Amazon.
Do you want to go through these quickly, not methodically, or do you want to look at them?
Well, we're already halfway in,
Mhm.
so it's probably best if we just try and finish up this one then. This document, you know.
Okay, I know you
'Cause
did want to
we're-
cover the others.
Well, I mean, there'll be more shows, so can always cover on the next one.
I mean, I can also.
You know what I mean? Instead of splitting it up from
Mhm.
from here, you know, to another one. Let me see. What? They're not streaming. They're not going to stream through their YouTube channel anymore.
What?
Really?
Why?
Where? Huh?
Oh.
Oh, from the website. Oh, cool. I
Oh,
wonder
okay.
why. I wonder why. That's weird. I wonder why they would.
I got a fright.
Huh?
I got a fright for a second. I thought, like, not at all.
Oh, yeah. No. I wonder why. They're not, because there's so many court systems that use YouTube. Like there's different YouTube channels that for the courts in different areas of the country, and you can sit there and watch court hearings. You can sit there and watch court hearings all day. You know, while you're just sitting there doing whatever. Conneaut is one of them that I watch sometimes when I'm sitting here doing paperwork and stuff. I'll have like Conneaut's court up, but so they can yeah, allow all cookies, right, Heather? Allow all cookies. Oh, okay. And then all of a sudden you get all these pop-ups. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Yeah. That's interesting though, huh? Because they've been using YouTube for 2 years now with these court hearings. Let me see here. Let me look through these. So did you need to get coffee?
Yeah, I can go get coffee quickly.
Did you need to go? I can well, because I have to get some too, and I need to like warm up my coffee. I still got like half of it, but it's like really cold now. And I know you said you wanted to get coffee, and I would like to make some refresh coffee. Real quick, what I'm gonna do is before we get into the rest of these, let me see here. I'm going to oh man, hold on. Let me play. Oh, I got a perfect video for you guys to watch here real quick. Hold on. This is a good little video, promotional video. Good little promotional video while we make some coffee. This is a video asking straight from the University of Idaho. This is a little video that they made asking college student questions you didn't know how to ask. And so while we get our coffee ready, I'm going to play this for you guys just as a little intermission here real quick. This is just, it's about a 11 minute video or so. We'll play this real quick. We'll make some coffee and then we'll be right back. If you want the video, you saw that already? Okay. It's something I've been saving for a while. I just haven't got to it. So there's the link if you want it. Enjoy this this little University of Idaho video here while we go get some fresh coffee. Be right back.
Guys, this is how you get used to water.
I know,
Acclimatize.
I know, but
Acclimatize.
there's no way that
Double
works.
acclimatize.
It does not work. I don't believe her.
Hi everyone, welcome to the University of Idaho YouTube channel. My name is Natalie. I'm Maddie.
Wesley.
Yeah. And we are current students, and we have been asked a few questions, and we figured we were gonna we could answer some here. I don't know. There might be questions that you don't know how to ask, who to ask, or you might just be uncomfortable asking. I don't know. They're kind of real. But if you, they're kind of real questions. I won't lie. But if you think of any other questions that you might have, feel free to leave them down below, and we will do another episode. So, okay. First question. What do you really like about the U of I?
A lot to choose from here.
There's so many options.
Yeah, there's just so many things I can talk about. My favorite thing is it's a mid-sized university, so you have a lot of access to the professors. Like they have office hours.
That's what I was gonna say.
Oh,
Come on, guys.
oh, sorry.
Gotta work together here.
You know, you have lots of access to professors. Like you can go talk to them. Like all the professors, they pretty much know me by name. So
Yeah.
it's pretty nice. You get that connection.
Absolutely. I will add on to that, because I fully believe in that, but also beyond accessing your professors, you have access to opportunities like research and different jobs and classes and internships and all that jazz really early on, because we are a mid-sized university, so we don't have too many students fighting for the opportunities. I've done research since my very first semester here at the U of I, and now I'm a second semester senior, which is scary, but other universities, you don't necessarily have that chance, but you definitely do here at the U of I.
Yeah, I kind of like how close-knit everything is here. I feel like since it's, kind of smaller, as we've said, it everything kind of ties together really well here. Great communication between a lot of the different programs here. And honestly, just a lot of opportunities too. It's great.
Yeah,
I also just love Moscow. It's so pretty here.
How do you make friends at college or in classes? Wesley, do you have something?
I feel like one of the easiest ways is, there's a multitude, but clubs, always a great spot. It's basically you join a club and you get to pick which one. So you just get to join something you're interested in. And guess what? Everyone else in that club is also going to have the exact same interest. So great way to meet people.
I'd say this is tough. You actually have to get out there and talk to people.
Yeah.
Not good for engineers.
Hey.
We're both engineers, so it's okay to say.
I'm not. I'm just very protective.
But you have to put yourself out there to some extent. You can't just hermit in your dorm all day and expect to make a ton of friends. So definitely get out there, meet all the people on your floor in your house
Yeah.
or whatever. You do have to get out there to some extent.
Yeah, and on top of that, you gotta go to class.
Mm-hmm.
I know. But sometimes, some of my best friends or the easiest connections I've made have been when we've been in class and you kind of just commiserate or you complain about something. It's bad or whatever, but I'll be like, oh my gosh, are you serious? An exam the first day of school? And then when it comes to do homework or studying, because you already know each other and we're already kind of on the same boat. I don't know. I feel like it kind of breaks the ice a little bit. It's easier.
Or it's complaining about the same homework assignment.
Yes.
Over and over.
They're like, oh, it's only 2 problems, but it is A through F on both. Oh, thanks.
And you're like, seriously? And then the person next to you is like, oh my gosh. And then you're best friends for life. Do you have to have played a sport to play on a college sports club team or club sports team?
No.
Nope.
Hell no.
Hell no. So obviously, if you're looking at our football or basketball or volleyball, the real ones, yes. Unless you're some sort of prodigy, you got to have played before.
You can't walk onto a D1 team,
Yeah. You could try, but it wouldn't go very well. But with club sports, yeah, you just.
They're pay to play.
Yeah.
You give your money, you get to play.
But
The way it goes. Yeah.
My cousin, he played water polo in high school, and so when he came here, he wanted to play the club sports or the club water polo team just so that it was less intense. And we don't have an official water polo team, and he really enjoyed it. So if you've played a sport casually and you want to kind of continue it in a more casual way, that's an option. But you also can just try it out if you want. Okay, next question.
Off track, sorry.
Apologize.
My bad. Ooh, this one's a juicy one.
Okay.
What do you do if you don't like your roommates? Oh, Maddie?
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you live in the dorms, definitely, like, worst case scenario, you can move out.
Yeah. I did that my freshman year. I had a situation with my roommate. Last
Yeah.
resort, I moved out at semester. But last resort, you gotta be an adult
Last
first.
resort.
You gotta try and talk it out.
Yeah, because right now I'm in an apartment, and let's just say things aren't always good.
And you know what apartments don't have?
You can't.
RAs.
Yes.
You have to solve it like adults.
Yes.
The worst part.
You can't just go gossip to your RA. You
Yeah.
have to.
But the RAs are great at the residence assistant. They're like older students who live on each floor, and they're really good at like being a mediator. And you sign like a roommate contract in the beginning, but like it's okay to leave the situation if it gets bad. But I'd say like if you're just not vibing, like you aren't best friends, then maybe just like go make connections outside and then just use it as like a room, a place to sleep essentially, and then you'll find a better roommate next time. But
if you're living with problematic people, I think you have to talk to each other. I mean,
absolutely.
there's not really any other way to get through it. Like if you're having a dishes dispute every day, you should probably talk it through.
Yeah.
And I need to apply this to myself. I get it's hard.
Yeah.
But you have to talk to your roommates first and try to be civil because you don't want to be miserable living with each other all the time.
Yeah. Talking it out and being honest and being like, listen, I need my space. I'll be right back. And being able to think things through before you say them. That is like a life skill in general, but it's really good when you have a conflict with someone you're living with.
Yeah.
And please just don't be passive aggressive.
Oh my god.
Do.
That.
And I'm
That's
sure
the
we've
worst.
all been characters in someone else's crazy roommate story. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Stuff happens.
Yeah.
But
Best thing is like be confrontational. Don't be passive aggressive and rude and just ignore your roommates. Like that's just gonna make it so much worse.
And also, if you meet people on campus too, it's never not an option to see if they want to move into a dorm together or something like that. That's what I did, and it was much better than my initial roommate. So, yeah.
just one more. What do out-of-state students do to get acclimated to Idaho? So,
Okay. I'm from in-state, but it's also an 8-hour drive away.
That is not the same thing.
yeah, my drive probably like 23 hours.
That's a bit different.
And that's if we go like straight through, which never happens.
Yeah.
I think when I hear acclimated, I think of like a couple different things. Well, first I think of that TikTok of the lady going like acclimatize, double the acclimatize.
I still have no idea. You tried to show me that once. I just didn't get it.
It's just a lady standing in a lake and she's like, guys, this is how you get used to water.
I know, but there's no way that
Double
works.
acclimatize.
It does not work. I don't believe her.
I haven't tried it.
I told him about this months ago.
You don't even acclimatize, bro?
Do you even acclimatize? Weather-wise, you just get used to it. Like, I don't know what else to say. I definitely let my SoCal-ness show my freshman year. I mean, I was pulling out a jacket when it was like 65 degrees. And people just knew I wasn't from here because they weren't putting jackets on till like 55 degrees. Like, I mean, there was like a 10-degree differential there. And now I'm the same way. Now I don't put like, I'm like, ooh, it's balmy today. It's 34. Warm.
It was like 40 yesterday and sunny. I was
I was
I was
sweating.
like, is this summer?
I was like, oh my gosh, it's May.
Time to start tanning.
But and so now actually when I go back home on school breaks, I'm kind of miserable because of the temperature. Like it'll be the middle of December, my family's freezing. I'm like, guys, we need to turn the AC on. I can't sleep. So you do just get used to it. But
It rains a lot more here than I'm used to, at least.
I mean, me too.
Yeah.
Snows here a lot more than it does where I'm from.
I'm from a desert, bro.
Me too. I'm from a desert.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, we're desert people.
Wow.
Oh, a little life hack. Nobody uses umbrellas in the Pacific Northwest.
True.
That's something, I mean, like, you'll see a handful of them, but back home, because it only rains, like, 5 times in, like, a decade, everyone pulls out, like, the umbrellas, and they don't know how to function. In the Pacific Northwest, life goes on when there's weather.
See, like, if you're just sprinkling, it's fine.
But then, as far as, like, moving away from home, because even 8 hours, it's still away from home. I mean, that's not a quick, like, I'm going home for dinner tonight.
Oh, yeah, I wanted to get as far away from food as possible, but...
You didn't get very far.
Yeah, you could have gone much further, probably.
I also didn't want to be, like, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt.
That's true. We are a good value school, by the way. Remember that.
And we're not being paid to say any of this. I want to
No.
make that very clear. This is a volunteer. This
Yeah.
is not
I took
sponsored.
time out of my day.
I skipped a nap. Okay.
That's so true.
Yeah, I'd say I definitely wanted to get away from home. I wanted to find new experiences. Obviously, I mean, my birthday is in October. I can't speak for everybody here, but I was so freaking homesick around my birthday,
Yeah.
freshman year, and it just helped. Like, I still like text my parents every day, and they send me pictures of like my dogs and my cats, and I'm just like, oh, like I see them. But it definitely, like, I feel like it's kind of, when you get there, it's not bad. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm at college, it's so much fun. And then college actually starts, and you're like, oh.
There's that brutal first, like, what is it, like the third month? I feel like it sets in pretty bad.
Yeah, just because, especially because you go to school in August, and you don't really go back home until like Thanksgiving.
It's like the longest stretch
Yeah.
without like a break from school.
But yeah, it's definitely like the middle of that. It can be kind of tough, but it does get better. I mean, we have like counseling here on campus that I definitely recommend.
Yeah.
I went to that. when I was
Oh,
younger,
freshman
so-
year, they knew. No, I had appointment. My bi-weekly appointment with, I believe her name was Rachel. I love Rachel.
Yeah. What about you? What do you recommend?
For what?
Moving away.
Moving away from home. Okay, fine. I mean, dude, it's like a 7-hour drive. I'm from Boise, Idaho. I don't know if any of you Idahoans have ever heard of it.
Ever heard of that place?
Wait, yeah.
Boise. Where's Boise?
It's like southern, never mind, I can't say that. In the middle of nowhere. But no, but yeah, it's not. I mean, I wanted to get far away from home. Yeah, it's a transition for sure, but everyone gets used to it. And I mean, honestly, I think there's more rewards about going away from home and trying new things than not. So you definitely grow up a lot.
I will say.
Yes, there's a lot of growing up that happens. I know it's cliche, and everybody in your life will tell you this. Parents, grandparents, older friends, older siblings, everyone who's done this will tell you. So you can just add me to the list. You're not the only one who feels that way.
That's so
And it gets better, but it's true. I mean, I found one person that I felt like I could be vulnerable with my freshman year. Her name's Esther. And I was like, listen, I miss my mom like crazy. She's like, oh, me too. And so then I felt like one other person that we could say, like, oh, I have to go call my mom or whatever. Like, I don't know. I promise you're not the only one who feels that way. But sometimes finding someone else that you feel like you can say, you miss mommy.
structure. It's really good in like your first year, because you're either living in like a Greek chapter or you're living in like a dorm, most likely. And you know, you have your dorm, you have like the eatery or like the chef in like a sorority or fraternity, and it's nice. You don't have to like try to like plan your meals, but then like as you get older, you move into your apartment.
That's
You
on
like-
you now.
You like get into it. You know, you're not just automatically thrown in. You have to figure out everything by yourself. So that is
Plus-
a perk of living on campus.
Yes. Plus, there's like the obligatory, like, oh, I'm sick of the dining hall food. Like, I'm sick of sharing a room with someone. That makes you ready for the next step, which is cooking your own food, moving into an apartment. Like, living on campus is such an important experience. I think you get so many life skills. Plus, it forces you to make connections.
True, meeting people off campus is so hard.
It's so hard.
Mm.
Anything else? Any questions?
Any questions?
Hello?
Oh, we probably should close out the video.
yeah.
Instead of just saying, like, okay, guys, bye.
I'm just yapping.
Okay.
We should come up with a weird graphics request for them to put on the screen
Okay.
in these bloopers. Like the Barbie movies. No, but like, can you please put a pickle wearing a top hat
You just use AI.
right here? But he's dancing to the fight song.
Oh, it's amazing.
That is officially all we have for you today.
Yes.
But like we said in the beginning, if you have any other questions or anything else you'd like to know, feel free to leave it down below. You know, like, comment, all that jazz.
Give it a big thumbs up.
Give it, smash that like
Smash that
button.
subscribe button.
Turn on notifications so you never miss an
Ring that little
upload.
bell.
And we are definitely down to film another version of this.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to use that for like a promo. Smash that like button, subscribe. Damn, they only got 2 comments. Let's sharing this with our student staff. Great idea. There's no questions. This was a month ago. Let's see, this was February 26th. But It's interesting. How do out of state students
Right.
adjust to how it works around there? It's why in the middle of it you saw me drop the comment. This is an interesting comment right here because if you're having that horrible roommate, just get along. Just
Yeah.
Just get along to go along. It'll be okay. Especially the out of state students. This is a completely different world up there, and they already don't like outsiders.
Yeah, it must be tough.
I don't know, it's crazy. They probably feel the same claustrophobic atmosphere that I did when I went, because I don't know, it's a different vibe up there, that's for sure. Especially with how they don't like people coming in with new ideas or different ways to do things. It's
Right.
get along to go along. Get along to go along. But yeah, I'm gonna have to use some of that as like a little promotional commercial there or something. Please hit the like. Yeah, I need to write that down. I like that. Use it as a little promo video. All right. So we'll go ahead and finish up these documents in this one, and then whatever one you want to or however you want to do it, just let me know, and I'll go ahead and try and accommodate you.
Accommodate. Well, I'm pretty flexible with anything. But okay, so should I just go through? Should I just read all of them and then? I think some of them are pretty similar, but I'll just.
Or you can summarize some, or however you want to do it.
Okay, all right. So this is Amazon. It says certificate of authenticity. I have one for this. Okay, it says I, Shane Cox, declare as follows. I am an employee at Amazon Incorporated. Make this declaration based on personal first-hand knowledge, and if called and sworn as a witness, I could and would testify as set forth below. Amazon produced documents responsive to the above referenced law enforcement request. All documents processed by Amazon are authentic, are what they purport to be, and accurately describe the transactions, communications, and events set forth therein. Okay. All documents produced by Amazon are business records in that they are 1, records kept in the ordinary course of business, 2, created at or near the time of the transactions or events reflected therein, or based on information from a person with knowledge of the transaction or events, and 3, kept as a part of a regular business activity. That wasn't difficult, but okay. I declare under penalty of perjury under the laws of the United States of America that the foregoing is true and correct. And it was executed on 12/30/2022 at Seattle, Washington.
Yes. All right.
Yes.
And we'll go ahead. There's the exhibit. All right. That basically says the same thing.
Yeah, it does.
All right. And that's just a copy. All right. Now we get to that's AT&T.
Okay. This is a certificate of authenticity of of domestic records pursuant to Federal Rules of Evidence 902 sub 11 and 902 sub 13. And there's a file number. It says, I, Mike Figuerio, attest under penalties of perjury by laws of the United States of America pursuant to 28 U.S.C. 1746 that the information contained in this certification is true and correct. I am employed by AT&T and my title is Legal Compliance Analyst. I am qualified to authenticate the records attached hereto because I am familiar with how the records were created, managed, stored, and retrieved. I state that the records attached hereto are true duplicates of the original records in the custody of AT&T. I further state that All records attached to the certificate were made at or near the time of the occurrence of the matter set forth by or from information transmitted by a person with knowledge of those matters. They were kept in the ordinary course of the regularly conducted business activity of AT&T, and they were made by AT&T as a regular practice, and such records were generated by AT&T's electronic process or system that produces an accurate result to wit. The records were copied from electronic devices, storage mediums, or files in the custody of AT&T in a manner to ensure that they are true duplicates of the original records, and the process or system is regularly verified by AT&T and at all times pertinent to the records certified here, the process and system function properly and normally. I further state that this certification is intended to satisfy rules 902 sub 11 and 902 sub 13 of Federal Rules of Evidence.
Then a copy. So let me see. That's a signed copy. So that's Mike Figueroa. This is Stephen Gordon.
Mhm.
Okay. There's that.
I, Stephen Gordon, attest under penalties of perjury by laws of the United States of America pursuant to 28 U.S.C. 1746 that the information contained in this certification is true and correct. I am employed by AT&T, and my title is Director of Compliance. I am qualified to authenticate records responsive to the attached search warrant dated 12/22/22 because I am familiar with how the records were created, managed, stored, and retrieved. I further state that AT&T maintains records made at or near the time of the occurrence of the referenced matter set forth by or from information transmitted by a person with knowledge of those matters, and the records were kept in the ordinary course of the regularly conducted business activity of AT&T and made by AT&T as a regular practice. And AT&T provided records for the phone number 509-592-8458, responsive to the referenced search warrant dated December 23, 2023, for records between November 12, 2022 at 12 a.m. Pacific to November 14, 2022 at 12 a.m. Pacific, related to the November 13, 2022 crimes. And AT&T did not provide timing advance records for phone number 509-592-8458. Timing advance records were only available if requested within 7 days of the specified time frame. Timing advance records were not included in the AT&T records responsive to the reference search warrant because more than 7 days elapsed between November 13th, 2022 and the date of the search warrant, December 23, 2022. I further state that this certification is intended to satisfy rules 902 sub 11 and 902 sub 13 and 803 sub 7 of the Federal Rules of Evidence.
All right, and then the search warrant. Brett Payne.
Okay. To any peace officer authorized to enforce or assist in enforcing any law of the state of Idaho. Brett Payne, having given me proof upon oath this day, showing probable cause establishing grounds for issuing a search warrant and probable cause to believe property consists of certain evidence regarding the investigation into the crimes at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, is on the AT&T account associated with the phone number 509-592-8458 between November 12, 2022 at 12 a.m. Pacific to November 14, 2022 at 12 a.m. Pacific. Information should include user account information, location data, and stored communications held by AT&T, described in further detail as follows. All customer subscriber information, including any listed address, numbers, social security numbers, dates of birth, names, addresses, and other customer identifying information, mobile handset or device identifiers or serial numbers, MEID, ESN, IMSI, IMEI, SUPI, activation date and deactivation date, and point of purchase or location device was purchased if applicable. 2. Device purchase information. This is specifically to include the date, time, and location of where the device or any prepaid refill cards were purchased, as well as any information maintained about the purchase to include store name, store number, terminal number, and amount of purchase. 3. Any email address associated with the account or with the device that is currently on file and stored in the normal course of business of the service provider. 4. Call detail records, including detailed information in reference to all known outgoing and incoming calls associated with the account, dates and times calls were made, and the duration of all calls made or received. This is to include any other pertinent call detail records, including special feature codes or any other codes that are maintained in the normal course of business for the service provider, of any cellular numbers identified in the course of the investigation. In addition to voice calls, this would include any detail records showing text messages, MMS messages, or data activity.
Okay, 1 second. I gotta pause it here. Device purchase information. Prepaid refill cards. Was this a prepaid phone? Which is a burner phone.
Okay.
So, was this a burner phone that they... This is specifically to include the date, time, and location of where the device or any prepaid refill cards were purchased. What do you need a... I don't know. It just stuck out to me, the prepaid.
Yeah. So that's like the kind of thing where you buy a voucher and you type in the code and then you get like talking minutes on it, right?
Yeah, you get credits. And usually it's 1 credit per minute, half a credit per text. So it all goes on credits. 1 credit a minute. Huh.
Yeah.
It is on the other phone warrants too. Well, what are you prepaying with a refill card? Because you have a monthly plan. That should cover everything. What do you need a refill card for? If you're maybe extra hotspot, but usually that just comes with your phone plan, whatever the hotspot. Just standard is just going to... But if it's not a prepaid phone, why? This is, again, it may be standard, but if it's not a prepaid, if it's a phone that comes through a carrier, that's not prepaid. So why would the prepaid be included in the standard if that's not even part of the package? I don't know. That's weird. All right. Let me see. Right here, left off right at A.
Okay.
Prepaid.
In the event the requested call detail records contain other service provider customer numbers identified as either incoming or outgoing calls, the service provider will provide subscriber information to the specific numbers identified if requested. 5. Cell site information to include all known cell towers associated with outgoing and incoming calls, call detail records. This information is to include any sector information azimuth for each identified sector cell site location, handoff tower and sector, time on tower information, and any other related material that would be necessary to identify the location and sector in reference to the cell site information associated with the call detail records. In the event text messages, MMS messages, data activity, including IP sessions and destination addresses that were produced, these records are also included in this request. Cell site locations for all service provider cell sites, sector information, including azimuth headings in the regional market associated with requested cell site information. 7. Location information to include any estimated or known longitude and latitude of the cellular device's current location or approximate location. Information received by cell towers in reference to direction and distance from the tower a device may be located, timing and triangulation information, radio frequency signal strengths, direction, and transmission information. The geographical constraints of location information will be limited to the United States. 8. Location information can be in the form of historical records. This would include any reports of device activity that would include the approximate latitude and longitude of the device at the time of the activity, estimated margin of error, direction and distance from the tower, and other location-related information, commonly referred to as real-time tool, RTT, timing advance information, location database of record. This further includes any other reports similar in nature that would provide an estimate of the cellular phone on the service provider's network. 9. All text messages and/or MMS messages, including message content currently stored in the normal course of business for the service provider, to include any cloud services which allow for the long-term storage of both voicemails and SMS MMS messages. Cloud data, any content that may have been backed up to cloud storage, disappeared. Okay. That may have been backed up to cloud storage for the listed dates or times. If said cloud storage has been provided by a third-party provider, please provide relevant contact information for that provider. Located within the following. Okay. Please provide this information to Brett Payne at redacted in digital format on a compact disk in Excel, PDF, or TXT format. You are therefore commanded to search the above described premises for the property described above, to seize if found, and bring it promptly before the court above named. This warrant shall be executed within 14 days of issuance and is authorized for daytime or nighttime service. Pursuant to Idaho Criminal Rule 41, daytime means the hours between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. Pacific, and under the following special directions.
And I want to say contribution call out. Thank you, Danny B, for being a member for 6 months. Appreciate it. And thank you for your support. Let me see here. All right. And so provided. All right. And then there's the magistrate, Megan E. Marshall, the original judge in the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Danny. And thank you, everybody. Okay. And then we got more AT&T.
Okay. Certificate of Authenticity of Domestic Records pursuant to Federal Rules of Evidence 902 sub 11 and 902 sub 13. And then there's the file number.
Yeah, and Rosie, you don't have to read everything if you wanted to summarize certain parts, because I know it's a lot of reading.
I don't know what to summarize because it's like as I go along. I don't like fully remember these. I've just skimmed them.
Yeah, because there's a lot of them to it.
Yeah.
I mean, and
I don't mind if people want to hear them, but I also don't want to like bore people because I know I'm getting like monotone.
No. It's about like I don't. It's just like when I got done with the show yesterday. It was like, oh my gosh, like I maybe you needed it. Like I
No,
thought maybe you might need a lozenge or something after the
no,
show.
no,
You know what I mean?
I'm good. I'm good.
No,
I
if
just
it,
like I don't know if people want to hear like exact, but I don't remember
no,
what's.
no. We're just checking to make sure you're good.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well,
What's up,
Gary
Michael?
Gary Cohen attests under the penalties of perjury by laws of the United States of America pursuant to 28 U.S.C. 1746 that the information contained in this certification is true and correct. I am employed by AT&T and my title is Legal Compliance Analyst. I am qualified to authenticate the records attached here too because I am familiar with how the records were created, managed, stored, and retrieved. I state that the records attached here too are true duplicates of the original records in the custody of AT&T. I further state that all records attached to this certificate were made at or near the time of the occurrence of the matter set forth by or from information transmitted by a person with knowledge of those matters. They were kept in the ordinary course of regulatory conducted business activity of AT&T, and they were made by AT&T as a regular practice. And such records were generated by AT&T electronic process or systems that produces an accurate result to wit. 1. The records were copied from electronic devices, storage mediums, or files in the custody of AT&T in a manner to ensure that they are true duplicates of the original records, and the process or system is regularly verified by AT&T at all times pertinent to the record certified here in the process and system functioned properly and normally. I further state that this certification is intended to satisfy Rules 902 sub 11 and 902 sub 13 of the Federal Rules of Evidence.
Gary
Thank you.
Cohen,
Yes.
and then Stephen Gordon again, which is basically signing the same copy as what Stephen wrote for the other individual.
This
And
is also
then, yep, the same thing here. Okay, and then I think this is a copy as well, isn't it?
it looks a little different.
Okay. I thought this was already up above. Maybe not.
I think it's the same information but worded differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Let's see. Pin, trap, trace. Brett Payne. Yeah, it's the same. Let me see here. Resides, phone number, geographic limits of the trap, and trace order are the United States and U.S. territories. What page did you want to?
We can skip
Let's
to
see.
the sales stuff, or
Let me see here.
what else is in here?
Approximate location. Trap trace. Trap trace. Cell site simulator. Take steps necessary to limit collection of any information or metadata to the target address. Let me me see. What page is... All right, so there's the corner club receipt. So here's the certificates.
Mhm.
Let me see here. Costco wholesale. Crime scene scenario. So this one right here. This is the document. Is it okay to go to this one?
Yeah, this is the one that I've seen people talking about.
Okay.
Haven't gone through it yet.
Yeah, the one oh you want to skip this one? Oh, that's you wanted to save that for another.
No, we can do this one. This was the only one I haven't read it yet, but I just saw people talking about it on social media. That's why it's his assignment, I think.
Yeah. Arriving at the crime scene. This is what we brought up in the beginning of the show.
Okay, well, if people want to hear that, I'm happy to do it. I don't think there's anything
No,
else.
I want to stick to whatever you were.
Okay, let's do this. I think that's pretty much. Other than that, there's vehicle stuff afterwards. There's some more certificates of authenticity. There's some T-Mobile stuff. Everything that they said they've attached.
Was this in the other part, or remember you said there was two parts? There was one part and then another part. Was this on the other part, or?
I think so. Yeah.
So probably skip this one and then go to the other.
So after this, there's just more certificates of authenticity. That the rest of it is pretty much.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then there's some vehicle ownership information, and that's pretty much it. So, and then there's a picture of his license and a copy of his license, and yeah. So, I mean, this would be the last thing in this document that I think would be interesting.
Okay.
If chat wants to go through this.
Yeah,
and
we
then,
could. Yeah, we could do that.
It's quite competitive. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we could do that, and then we'll just save the other stuff for the next show.
Okay. I don't know if this is long or not, but.
Huh?
I have no idea if this is a long assignment, but let's see how it goes. Okay.
Oh no, that's fine.
Okay. Okay, so it's obviously Brian Koberger's assignment. It says crime scene scenario final. Arriving at the crime scene, the first thing to do is block off the crime scene in order to avoid crime scene contamination. Keeping people out of the scene minimizes evidence contamination, though many may be curious to see what occurred. The theory of transfer states that we bring something with us to the crime scene and we take something away, thus skewing the crime scene from the original state by contamination.
So people are using that one statement and much more in this as like, oh yeah, see, he's telling you how he committed the crime, kind of like what we brought up in the beginning. I didn't mean I broke into 1122, just because I was saying, yeah, the person probably came this way and did this to get access up there, and then when they, it doesn't mean that. So right off the bat. And that's what the assignment is. That's what the assignment is, They want to test your knowledge of what you're going to look for or what you would expect.
Yeah. I mean, the theory of transfer that he's talking about is actually called Locard's principle, and it's something that every forensic student is taught right off the bat. Lockhart principle. We leave something behind, we take something with. Every single one of us is taught that. It's not special. So.
Caddy's got a question here about something up here real quick. The timestamp, 9:30, reprint date. Let me see, 12:22 a.m. Well, when is well, no. When is fall back for the time zone change? Oh, hold on. Let me show the whole screenshot there. 12:22 a.m. is what it says. Reprint date the next day at 9:35 a.m. When it comes to the date, 12:22 a.m. Well, here's the thing. If it was fall back and they forgot to change it, then it would be 120. Or no, wait. No. Wait. I'm having a brain fart here. If it was fall back and it didn't get updated on the receipt, right? If it was 122 and they didn't fall back, well, then it would be an hour ahead. So what the heck? Hold on. $12:22 a.m. I know. I'm having a brain fart here. So if it forgot to get up, if it didn't get updated, then it would be an hour ahead of what it was supposed to be, which doesn't make sense, because then it would say 222, not 122 or 1222. So, well, that's when they, well, here's the thing. Okay. That's got to be when they paid for it. So maybe they hung out after they purchased all of them, and they did hang out for another hour.
Maybe.
Yeah, it would that would have to be the I mean, that's the only thing that would make sense to me, is that it's the time they were purchased and brought back to their table or wherever they were at, and so they took an hour to drink the shots. And
yeah,
it is kind of weird, though. Yeah, I don't know, Caddy. It's kind of weird.
it is.
All right, here we go.
Okay. Okay, this is because the original state of the crime scene was left by the criminal suspect A lack of contamination allows the scene to be a snapshot in time. The curious mind must be noted and immediately evicted from the scene. People to be kept out of the scene include unauthorized any more than the absolute minimum number of law enforcement agents and forensic crime processors. Waiting for backup to arrive, I should stand guard at the scene, preventing these unauthorized people and even holding back eager officers from entering the scene. I must call my
Even holding back eager officers from the scene.
I must call my immediate supervisor and inform them of the deceased white female who is approximately 35 years of age. I must obtain an initial search warrant to search the scene. Failing to do so will mean that evidence is inadmissible. This is another reason why holding personnel from entering is key. The coroner must be called in order to pronounce the woman unalived, and EMS should be called if they were not already called by the patrol officer 15 minutes earlier, as they would have provided emergency care if the woman showed signs of life.
Which is important. Which is important when it comes to the backlash that the 911 dispatcher is getting.
There you go.
Because she needed to find out if there was signs of life. What is the sign of life? If the person's breathing or not.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
This would have been important for many reasons. Her livelihood is one reason, but from the stance of a patrol officer or criminal investigator, she may have given a passing declaration of her attacker when informed of her impending passing. Forensic services are next on the list to call, as they are best equipped to handle the evidence, process it, and ensure that there is not any contamination. Their van also contains the best equipment for forensic investigation.
Is she breathing? Very important question that needed to be answered as soon as possible.
Right. A cursory search of the immediate area should be done, with any observations should be recorded in my field notes as to ensure the integrity of the preliminary case report. Officers who are not needed at the residence should ensure that the general area is searched for anything that stands out as well. This includes the area of the trailer park, which contains 62 trailers. If there is anyone in the trailer, they should be moved out and questioned. Does she have kids? I should gather the following information in my notes as the investigation commences, which will later be included in my preliminary case report when the details of the case culminate. The offense, the time of day, date, approximate time of offense if known, identification of the victim, the location of the offense, the method of operation if known, and the identification of the officer. Since the offender was not there, I would not be able to record this information initially, and the specifics of the crime won't be known until confirmed by the crime lab. Getting the approximate time is important and can be indicated by rigor mortis, which sets in at about 12 hours, or putrefaction at about 10 to 20 days. All this information will aid me as I attempt to reconstruct the scene of the crime based on the evidence location in relation to its former known position.
Okay, I'm going to pause real quick too, because I want to highlight this area as well. So when it comes to I think he got a really good grade for this, Heather, because look at what he's pointing out of things that should have been known or didn't happen. I don't think any eager officers were held back. Now, when it comes to the rigor mortis, right, which sets in about 12 hours. So when you're talking about the coroner, Mabbitt, showing up at 5:30, you're already at the 12-13 hour mark. So when she's asking about an order or approximate time that they passed, she couldn't even give you an answer, which she should have been, because by the time that she showed up, it was already being indicated by rigor mortis.
Yeah.
So she should have shown up and would have been able to tell. I think he got a good grade on this because you can see this is pointing out a lot of stuff from the investigative side.
Yeah.
Moscow should have looked at this damn paper when this crime. I'm just saying.
I know.
They should have. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I know that's fine. I will have equipment I will have on hand for the investigation. To be prepared for crime scene investigation, I must ensure that I have a crime toolkit containing the following: a 35mm camera or digital camera capable of videotaping with an adequate supply of film and power, a portable lighting system to ensure quality photographs and that I do not miss or step over any evidence, assorted steel tape measures that can reach at least 25 feet, a ruler or other measurement marking devices, latent fingerprinting equipment, gloves to protect the scene from contamination. This will enable that I avoid leaving my latent fingerprints. Forceps and small tweezers and a pair of scissors. A small saw to take evidence, for example, drywall. Filter paper or small swabs for liquid evidence and trace evidence, various evidence containers for liquid and solid evidence, paper envelopes for physical evidence, evidence tape to seal off the evidence containers, casting material to take molds of possible footprints around the perimeter with a rubber container for the mixture. A magnifying device should be kept. Crime scene tape for the scene. Protective clothing, boot covers, eyewear, fiber-free overalls, face masks, hairnets, gowns, and anything that will prevent me from contaminating the scene with things I bring in with me. A blue light with yellow glass, which makes small trace evidence more visible, can be used to ensure that a photo is taken of all the evidence. It could be a very small amount of fluid somewhere which wouldn't have been sampled, documented, or photographed otherwise. Entering the home for crime scene documentation and initial photography or videography. I may enter upon judicial approval of a search warrant and should do so with the minimum number of personnel. Having too many personnel evident in the photography may put the integrity of the evidence into question and taint the scene. A contamination list should be made documenting every person who enters and exits the crime scene and why. This includes first responding officers, firefighters or EMTs, family members, criminal investigators, and all crime scene personnel. Still, there should not be that many people in the crime scene, otherwise contamination will be increased as the theory of exchange inevitably manifests.
There's a whole
I must
lot
ensure
of
that-
people.
I must ensure that myself and my fellow crime scene personnel are wearing gloves and other protective equipment as to avoid contaminating the scene with latent fingerprints. A fiber-free boot cover would also be ideal to avoid leaving physical footprints or residue from the boot. Anything that is fiber-free and covers the mouth, hair, and overall body would be helpful in avoiding crime scene contamination, since hair, saliva, skin cells, and other bodily fluids or cells may be added to the scene, thus contaminating it. He wouldn't have worn a balaclava with fibers that could involve fibers. He would have worn like a proper mask, because he understands that he can leave these trace materials of the actual mask even.
Yeah, the fiber free.
Fibers can be left via the theory of exchange and would contaminate the crime scene from its initial state as the offender left it.
Yeah, yeah.
Even if we can't assume that there was an offender, despite seeming obvious, preventing contamination is an important way to ensure the integrity of the investigation and evidence. We should always treat the crime scene as if there is indeed a criminal unaliving, as to not miss out on the important details. That is how this crime scene is being handled. The first thing for me to do is take a coordinated series of crime scene photographs with a digital photography device or a 35mm camera from a natural point of view. These photos must be taken prior to the movement of any objects in the crime scene to ensure that the photo captures the scene as the offender left it.
And
Photograph
as
should-
we as we go, I'm just trying to find little spots I can jump in real quick. As
Just-
we're sorry, go ahead. What?
No, I was saying just let me know when to stop. Otherwise, I'll just.
I'm just trying to jump in real quick. When it comes to this part, pay attention to what they're describing and then think back to DNA Dirty Glove. Okay?
Yeah, I was thinking about it.
Think back to DNA Dirty Glove when this is an explanation at that process where DNA Dirty Glove lady's in there doing these things. Now they're saying, they're talking about the photo, or he's talking about the photos. They must capture the crime scene and the evidence of where everything is at prior to movement. Okay, so yes, we're walking around taking photos, and then watch what happens as he's describing the next steps here.
The photographs should be taken from a general view of the exterior of the home as well as general views of the interior, recording the time and details of the photographs in my notes. Setting up portable lighting ensures that the elements of the crime are adequately illuminated for photographic documentation.
What was I doing? I was putting my gloves all up in that bag of supplies and equipment, wasn't I? Huh. Okay. Okay.
The photos should be in color as to provide the best, most accurate image, thus avoiding photographic distortion. The following details regarding photography should be recorded in the field notes and on the back of the photos if possible. Recording these details will ensure that the defense attorney does not attempt to devalue the quality of your evidence, which may make it inadmissible. This is so ironic. Okay. Data to identify the subject of the photograph, but without too much unnecessary information. The location of the photograph, including the state, city, and street address. The identifying data of the photographer, including the name, police agency, badge number, and identification number. The case number, if established at the time of dispatch, the precise time of the photograph, the date the photograph was taken, the weather at the time, the photographic equipment used, including shutter speeds, film type, and developing and printing techniques. Next.
So I guarantee that not all of those things were done on those photos that they took. Just a hunch.
Actually, I think I remember hearing Ann Taylor mention that in a hearing. I think she said that some of the photos didn't explain who took them or when. I could be wrong, but I think I remember.
Right? Back when she was requesting training records. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. DNA Dirty Glove Lady, how are you?
Yeah, this is weird. Okay, next, photos of specific rooms should be taken with special attention to the living room, which is where the unalived woman was found. As the coordination of photos is focused inward, specific components of the crime, like physical evidence, should be accounted for and detailed. These should also be logged in my field notes. This physical evidence should be photographed next to a measurement marker, which can be a ruler or any other easily comparable object of well-known size. The body and physical evidence to take a picture prior to collection from the forensic services and criminal investigator includes the unalived woman in the living room, who should be photographed under adequate lighting from a long view. Specific shots should be focused on the evidence of harm on her body and clothing. The bruises on her face, the marks on her neck, the fluidy shirt, and the other signs of postmortem lividity should be photographed and taped without moving the victim. A measurement marker should be placed next to her. This will show if an offender moved the woman as to manipulate the crime scene. Does she have defensive wounds, and are there hesitation marks on her related to the weapon? Or are there multiple
You can
wounds?
just say it. You can just say
Can
it.
I? Okay, all right.
You can just say
Are
it.
there multiple stab wounds? These must be photographed and taped. Is the mark on her neck related to the hanger near her? The photographs make it sure that these items were indeed present at the time of the scene. Most of these questions are speculated until absolutely confirmed by the forensic medical examiner, who can use scientific equations to determine the approximate time of passing. It's a habit now. This is a maxim that stands even when the scene seems to point to the obvious. The time of death is never entirely accurate, but the photographs can aid in this process as they capture phenomena such as rigor mortis or putrefaction when the woman was found. The knife should be photographed under adequate light, and a marker should be placed next to the knife to give the best photographic representation of the evidence. This misshapen coat hanger should be photographed under adequate light, and a measurement marker should be placed next to the evidence. The upended furniture and children's furniture should be photographed firstly from a long view and then focus specifically on each piece of furniture under adequate lighting with a measurement marker. All of this should be well documented in the field notes and on the photograph. Is there any sign of forced entry to the home? This would be evident by broken glass from the windows and pry marks on the doors or windows surrounding the house. This should be photographed, videotaped, and documented. If there is forced entry, it may suggest that the woman knew her killer. A video camera will be used as well to go over all the evidence which was photographed. Documentation of the video evidence should also be filled out and recorded in the field notes. The crime scene sketch. The crime scene sketch occurs after the scene was initially searched, photographed, and videotaped. The sketch is of great value in criminal court. This sketch should first be done in pencil to ensure that the sketch accurately portrays the evidence and measurements pertaining to the crime scene. The final version will be done in non-perishable ink via pen. The physical evidence of the crime, which includes but is not limited to the knife, misshapen coat hanger, furniture, as well as other biological evidence, like bodily material, should be drawn out in accurately measured proportions from each other and pertinent objects in the crime scene sketch. The final search and confirmation by the forensic processing unit and investigator will determine whether this was all the physical evidence at the scene. New evidence can be added to the crime scene sketch when new measurements are taken. The distance from permanent fixtures should be accurately recorded and depicted. The crime scene sketch should be measured by the criminal investigator and accurately display the proportions of the physical evidence. Any inaccurate portrayal of the location of evidence can influence the juror perception of the guilt or innocence of the suspect. While you do not need to be an artist, the responsibility of sketching should be taken with accuracy and a goal for a clear portrayal in mind. Though I can assign another officer to sketch it, I have decided to take this task on. A 25-foot steel measuring tape should be used to record these exact and accurately recorded measurements of physical evidence and permanent objects in the house. Too much detail shouldn't be included in the sketch to avoid confusion. Movable items unrelated to the crime scene convey details irrelevant to the crime and will be avoided. Extraneous detail, including movable furniture, may cause issues if jurors recognize that items in the house were moved after the fact. This would be equivalent to crime scene contamination and may render evidence inadmissible. The living room should be sketched out with the deceased woman being drawn in the proportion to the knife, coat hanger, and upended furniture and children's furniture, walls, and permanent objects in the house. Other rooms that are relevant should be included in the sketch. I have decided to use the rectangular coordination method. Don't know what that is. With two right angles being outlined in proportion to the physical evidence and permanent fixtures centering around the living room. A projection can be used to document biological trace evidence like blood stains or other physical evidence that imprinted on the walls. Bullet holes would be something that should be ruled out. But if bullet holes are present, they should be documented on the 3D exploded sketch before the drywall is removed via a saw. Though it appears obvious that a knife was used in the crime, we do not know this for sure and should make sure to document everything and look for less apparent evidence.
Seems like a really good paper.
It is. It is a good paper. Even if there was an item introduced to the scene by an offender to throw off investigators, it is not the job of the criminal investigator processing the crime scene to jump to conclusions. The crime lab will be able to decipher with scientific certainty what is and is not an original element of the crime. Staging is common. For example, the offender may have taken items from the house to make it look like a burglary turned robbery, which went wrong. The official crime or preliminary report should include the accurate sketch with the following details included: the name of the investigator and identifying badge number, a detailed location of the scene such as the city, state, and street address. The living room should be noted as the center of the sketch. The date and the exact time of the sketch was first drawn in pencil, the evidence listing or key which shows evidence as it corresponds to a letter or mark indicated in said key, the case number of the investigation, a compass arrow to give direction. The scale of the sketch should be included, or the words not drawn to scale. I am choosing to draw it to scale, where 1/4 inch equals 1 foot. The computer-aided design program, CAD, which uses laser lights and takes up to 25,000 measurements per second in 3D, may be utilized if available for the scale of the scene is most accurate. CAD, if available, for it gives the best portrayal of the serious crime, allowing for an accurate point of view and zooming of particular elements of the crime scene. Wow, okay. Got lost there.
Yeah.
Okay. The more comprehensive crime scene search using the strip search method. Okay. In order to collect evidence from the interior of the residence, I will assign roles to officers on the scene, briefing them to watch where they are stepping and not act impulsively or without great care. Hasty actions will lead to valuable evidence being trampled and lost. The strip search method is what I have decided on, as it allows for the interior of the crime scene to be searched from one end to the other with more than one officer or forensic processing unit. The exterior of the property should be searched from one end to the other, as well as switching to the grid search if necessary. Walking from one end of the scene to the opposite end of the scene, I will turn around and cover ground to the right or left without stepping in the same spot twice. The rooms of the trailer should be searched in this method, with special attention to the living rooms where the victim lies. Assigning a CSI or officer and myself to this section, the living room, would allow that the scene is thoroughly checked. As I move from one end to the other, I will make sure I shine my flashlight ahead of myself to ensure that I do not damage or carry away smaller pieces of physical evidence. Smaller items of physical evidence include wood chips, hairs, paint flakes, glass fragments, or small fibers. If not careful, these may be lost before even accounting for or observing them. If new pieces of physical evidence are uncovered, I will take note of it for documentation and photography or videography. Things such as footprints inside and outside should be prepared to be photographed and videotaped. I must photograph and videotape the new evidence, as well as log it with the following information and account for the crime scene sketch. The time and date of the evidence discovery, the location that I found the evidence, the name of myself or whichever officer, CSI, or criminal investigator discovered it. As this is a serious crime, I have chosen that specialized crime scene personnel will assist me. A description of the evidence. Any identifying marks to further detail the evidence, the name of an officer who witnessed the find. This will ensure that there is no question that this was indeed an element of the original crime scene. This will save the investigator setbacks in court. All the information that is carefully recorded regarding the crime scene evidence aids the crime report. The location of this evidence is very important, for it may give us the following information. Establishing the tracing of or identification of the suspect. Establishing the suspect's modus operandi, or MO, or identifying similar MOs via information added to the FBI's Violent Criminal Apprehension Program, VICAP, from the completed crime report. Confirming alibis or exposing lies or disproving alibis. Connecting suspects to the crime or eliminating suspects. The identification of contraband, stolen property, and other illegal items. Identifying victims if they are not identified. For example, we can't assume that the woman lives at this residence before confirming it. A dead body may not be initially tied to the residence. Providing investigative leads. For example, checking into the husband or boyfriend and the location of the children based on the crime scene, evidence is warranted. Providing a statutory element of the offense. The collection of items of evidence. Like the crime scene photography, larger items of physical evidence are taken first. This includes the disheveled furniture and the children's furniture, cell phone and computer if there, the knife, and the coat hanger. The body will be taken later by CSI with a coroner for custody to wait for analysis by a forensic medical examiner trained to perform an autopsy. The knife should be examined for latent fingerprints and be logged separately. Same with the coat hanger, doorknobs around the house, upended furniture, cell phone, and virtually any physical evidence big enough to grab. Crimes of passion are rooted in emotionality and impulsivity. If this is the case, we can likely count on there being a latent fingerprint on the doorknob and all over the knife and victim. Smaller items of biological or trace evidence, such as hair and fibers from clothing, must be collected using metal forceps or tweezers to avoid damaging this delicate evidence, which may hold significant value in investigation. Fingerprints and footprints are class evidence to be taken with molds or a fingerprinting kit. Fingerprints should be entered into AFIS. I should use a swab where applicable to collect fluids or skin cells which contain DNA. The shirt likely contains not only the blood of the woman, but the blood of the possible offender. DNA from biological evidence should be swabbed, placed in a vial, documented in notes on the container for the evidence chain of custody, and included to be sent to the crime lab. The shirt will later be bagged and taken separately as physical evidence. I should make sure to swab under the fingernails to see if the DNA of the offender is there. She likely dug into his skin. Is there evidence of, I can say anything?
Essay.
Okay. Or semen present. This evidence should be marked, swabbed, and collected in a glass vial or cellophane bag. Is there evidence of personation? Did the offender take something, or did the offender display an excessive need for control over the victim as demonstrated by possible SA and unaliving? These are all observations to be recorded, though not conclusively. During the searching phase, the evidence should be marked with the following information in the field notes and later in the evidence seal packaging. I am choosing to bag all the evidence and not directly mark it, for it will be sent to the forensics lab. The size of the object, the physical nature of the object, is it solid or liquid? If the evidence is liquid, it should always be kept in an airtight container, such as a cellophane bag or glass vial, and marked. The value of the object and the number of like objects, the case number pertaining to the evidence. I agree with that.
I'm gonna leave it up there for a minute too. What's up, workup?
The date and exact time retrieved. The initials of the person who marked the evidence, BK in this case. This process should be done so as many times as needed. It may occur up to 1,000 times or more times. It must be conducted accurately, and the quantities should be accurately recorded on the container. Packaging the evidence for the forensic lab. Each item I collect, including but not limited to the weapon, coat hanger, and fluidy clothing on the woman, must be packaged in the proper way for the forensic lab analysis. I must use separate containers for evidence, not mixing things up and causing confusion, no matter how daunting this may be. I must use new, clean packaging that was not previously used to avoid contamination. Obviously, fluid or other biological evidence renders a container spent. Avoiding metal containers, which can be reused, is ideal to confirm that the container is indeed disposed of afterward. The package must be sealed with a strong medium, such as a strong tape. Items of clothing need to be kept as is and not folded. I must keep evidence that was found in a container as it is and mark it. I must include a letter of transmittal to state what type of analysis must be done. For example, wound analysis, DNA, or fingerprinting, even ballistics. Again, I must account for and log all this evidence in the chain of custody form. Where it was found, how, when, who is transporting it, and where the evidence locker located. Okay. The woman must be removed by a certified professional and sealed, taken into custody by the coroner and sent to the forensic medical examiner for forensic autopsy. This must all be logged in the field notes and the initial crime report before compiled in the closing report. The crime scene will be surveyed if necessary, but the longer the time it takes to do so, the more the chance of the crime scene is contaminated. When mailed, I must always send the evidence in registered mail enclosed with a secure receipt. This careful collection of evidence is all necessary for the crime lab criminalists to be capable of analyzing all elements of the crime, being that they really evidence chain of custody and inventory receipts. The careful description of evidence, when and where the evidence was found, and who found it are all related to the evidence chain of custody. All evidence must be described and then transported and placed in the evidence locker. The identity of the transporter and the location of the evidence locker must be accounted for. If the evidence is taken out of the locker at the police department, it must be recorded who did so and why they did so. The weapon, misshapen, wire, coat hanger, and any physical, biological, or trace evidence found must be accounted for, bagged, sealed, and then kept in an evidence locker. Her fluidy clothing should be examined as well, but this will infer that she must be moved and have items of clothing removed. This is something the forensic crime scene processing unit should do.
All
If she
right.
had a
Pause. Sorry, I got to jump in there real quick. So look at that specific statement there, right? Excuse me. Items, bloody clothing, items around, the weapon, all of these different things. Bagged, sealed.
Mhm.
This is something the forensic crime scene processing unit should do. Who was the forensic crime scene processing unit? The same team that was in there with the dirty DNA.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to jump in there real quick and mention that with those paragraphs there.
I get focused and then I get a fright. That's
Sorry.
why I jump.
Well,
No.
I try and because I wait until you end the sentence and I try and jump in when you end it to just mention it.
Where was I? If she had a cell phone, is that where I was?
Yeah, if she had
Yeah.
a cell phone. Yeah.
If she had a cell phone or computer nearby, this should be described, logged, and transported to the digital forensic lab for digital forensic examination. Did she communicate with anyone? Did this communication indicate a conflict? Did her husband or boyfriend else contact her? This may help investigators look in the right direction if things turn out to be not so obvious. Again, we can't assume it was the husband or boyfriend just because there may have been a history of domestic disturbance or a PFA, despite this being very common. Also, she may have children's furniture for her nieces or nephews, so we can't even assume that she had kids. When moved, all items will have inventory receipts which document the movement for the chain of custody form. All of this is for the accountability and integrity of the evidence, and thus the proper outcome of the criminal investigation. Failing to do so leads to injustice. There can be a very clear link between the victim and offender, but if this is not accounted for by a chain of custody, then it will be inadmissible.
I wonder what the
Outreach-
chain of custody looks like too.
Yeah, did they do all of the right forms and stuff?
I doubt it.
Because especially if you look at the sheath and the way that it moved around, and it's not really clear, and there aren't really specific dates given on,
Mhm.
that should be really readily available. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't believe it was, but that's just me. Another suggestion. Hunch.
Okay, outreach to other agencies and immediate elements of the investigation. A lot of these inquiries would occur concurrently with the crime scene investigation. Does she have kids? The county records office should give us this information. If so, the welfare of the children should be ensured. We are aware that there are disheveled items of children's furniture around, but where are the kids? Calls to be made to all family members of the deceased would help narrow down locations. Calls to the clerk of the court's office to see if a PFA out on the husband or boyfriend should be made. The husband or boyfriend of the unalived woman should be contacted to establish an alibi. He needs to be immediately located and questioned. The kids should be located as soon as possible, and an Amber Alert should be set if they are not accounted for. Does their father even have the rights to see the kids under normal circumstances, and did he take them? Neighbors should be questioned to see if the father was around or if any suspicious person was present. Anyone who normally passes by the scene, such as a mailman, should be questioned and an alibi established. Where were the neighbors when this happened? Their alibis should be evident and supported. Did they notice anything unusual? Maybe the father was seen with the kids leaving the scene. This can be important evidence if the father is not responding and the kids are not located. The Amber Alert can be set based on the vehicle, plate numbers, and description of the father if applicable. Eyewitness and surveillance footage in the trailer park surrounding areas, a drugstore which oversees the trailer, or nearby gas station can give us information on this crime. Surveillance footage is circumstantial evidence but may lead investigators in the right direction and to the apprehension of the suspect. If we can't gather conclusive information by the end of the investigation, the FBI's VICAP can help. VICAP may be utilized if this case happens to be unrelated to a domestic dispute. This may be the work of a SK, though this is highly unlikely. Still, we are not only looking at the facts of the investigation rather than conjecture, and we can say for sure once the suspect is apprehended and the evidence is strong enough to say what happened with scientific certainty. The compilation of evidence in the preliminary report, progress report, closing report, and prosecution report. My notes enabled that I wrote a thorough and accurate preliminary case report which contained all of the facts of the case. I will need to update it with a progress report as we track down the suspects and eventually create the closing and prosecution reports, which will be used in court if we get evidence of a specific person who committed this specific crime. The closing report will be the culmination of all facts after investigation and lab analysis, which lead to the most accurate reconstruction of the scene possible. The steps I have listed will ensure the prosecution report and closing report reflect a proper investigative procedure with fully admissible evidence into court. All the notifications were made, and the evidence chain of custody and investigative procedures ensured the integrity and accuracy of the evidence of the crime scene. With thorough documentation, it is unlikely that the defense will be able to discredit the investigation and render evidence inadmissible. This clear information will allow the jury to deliberate based on all the evidence. Finally, adding information from the FBI's National Incident-Based Report System will allow the FBI's Uniform Crime Report to give summative information of all applicable crimes to help police officers, criminologists, and criminal investigators understand the social trends of crime, thus aiding future cases.
All right. And let me see here. I thought there was some kind of one more page to that. But it's going right to this. Huh, okay. Why did I think there was one more page to that? 70. Okay, and then it's got authentication. There's a bunch of authentication. What's that word they kept saying earlier? Oh my gosh, the certificates. Yes.
Yes.
Certificates. Yeah, so there's a bunch of certificates. After that, you'll see as we scroll down here, you got certificates with seals. So it's just an actual seal that shows there's some kind of notary with all of those. So
and then there's some vehicle stuff and his license. And,
yeah. So here's the link for, yep, there's that. Here's the link for this article. Wow, there's a lot to that one, huh? It's crazy. Almost, let's see here. So yeah, more registration stuff. And look at that handwriting for sure. Somebody had made a comment about the handwriting yesterday.
Yeah.
You can see. But let's see, all that's redacted, of course. What a really good paper, though. You know, it's true, like what Woke Up said. They should have used that paper. They should have used that paper to follow the instructions, which a lot of them, I bet, weren't.
It's very ironic as well to read it, especially when he's talking about like the defense. And I wonder, like, do you think he could ever have imagined the position he would be in? Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, very, very, very well written paper, though. And yeah, they should have used it. Man, there's a lot of stuff in that one too. Holy crap. So we'll get to the make, model, the 911 call, the text messages, and probably a couple other ones after that in the next show. So we'll go ahead and just leave it as that document, and then if there's anything that you kind of want me to highlight in the next one with the text and the 911 calls, let us know. And if there's anything that sticks out to you in those documents, leave a comment in the comment section, and we'll go back to it. But yeah, I don't know if you're an officer and you're looking at this photo that's right in front of us, right? Or a similar photo that would have been from Pennsylvania, but probably would have been this one because it was checked after this photo and this license was created. But how do you as soon as you're looking at this, what do the eyebrows really seem that bushy?
Yeah. I've seen pictures of him where I could see why they might say he has bushy eyebrows, but I don't see that in this one.
Yeah, when you got the officer looking down, it's like, damn, those are bushy eyebrows.
I don't see it here.
Yeah, because this is what they would have seen. This is what they would have seen.
Yeah.
They pull it up, they look at this, they would have seen the photo with the ID.
Yeah.
I don't see how bushy. I mean, it doesn't even. I don't even see a unibrow. So I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see, but that's just coming from that photo. But I want to say thank you again, Rosie. Green tea, maybe something. Yeah, you just coat the throat. You know, take
it's fine.
your
It's fine.
vocal cords. Yeah.
It's good.
But we'll be back again. Yeah, solo bushy. Yeah, the solo bushy eye. You know who does have a solo bushy eyebrow? Those drawings on the wall.
Yeah. True that.
They got some bushy eyebrows. Some bushy eyebrows. When you're looking at how big the eye is compared to the eyebrow, that's some bushy eyebrows.
They're enthusiastic, the eyebrows. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a dream. You know, you look up, oh my gosh, there's eyes staring at me. All right. Well, I want to say thank you all for hanging out. Appreciate it. Thank you, Rosie, for going through these as well. And I'll be putting out a notification for the next one after a bit. I'm still working on some other things, and then I'm almost done. I'm almost done with the collection of all of the times Kim came up and WSU mom Kim came up and was talking on the show for the last week. I've been kind of getting stuff put together, and I'm almost at the final edit. So that'll be coming out soon. It's going to be like a 9-hour freaking premiere. So just as a heads up, it's going to be coming out probably Monday. I'm going to have it set. The notification will be out probably by tomorrow afternoon, maybe towards the evening. I'll have a notification out, and then that'll be premiering sometime at the end of the week, maybe early next week, and it's going to be a long one. It's going to be all one episode. I'm going to give you a heads up. It's going to be like 9. It might even 9.5. Something like it might even be longer than that actually. 9.5. Hold on, let me give you a good idea. 7, maybe closer to 9.5, around there. Might go to 10, but right around 9.5. So that'll be coming out. That's going to be a long one. It's going to be from the beginning to the last time that she came on. There was another time she came on after that, but that had to do with something else, and I won't even be including that one. But yeah, I just want to say thank you guys. I hope you guys have a peaceful, positive day. Always have the notification turned on in case we do some kind of out of the blue lives. And also, if you're not getting notifications, I've been getting a lot of messages about people it not notifying them. YouTube is just a buggy frickin' mess. The only thing I can suggest is unsubscribe, subscribe again, and then hit the bell, and usually that'll fix it. It's just like the live chat. Chat's messing up. You can't just back out and come back in. You actually have to back out, close the app out, then open the app up, then get back into the show for the chat to fix itself. So it's almost like the same thing. You have to unsubscribe, then subscribe, then hit the bell again. I don't know. I hope they fix their stuff because it's a lot of hard work doing what we're doing. And hell, Kid Kitty said, I think it was, if she's still in chat, I don't know. What's up, Audrey? Kid Kitty said it was yesterday or the day before that YouTube unsubscribed her. She had to sub up again.
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy? Like every day, it's like 10 to 30 subs every day just drop off, and you gotta. But and then you get people that are coming in going, I'm unsubscribed. Like, why? How did I get unsubscribed? I don't know. It don't make no damn sense.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and end it on this positive note from the students of the University of Idaho and their little hit the like. I just want to say thank you all. Appreciate you very much. And we will see you on the next show. Love you guys.
Bye, everyone.
That is essentially all we have today. But like we said in the beginning, if you have any other questions or anything else you'd like to know, feel free to leave it down below. Like, comment, all that jazz.
Give it a big thumbs up.
Smash that like
Smash
button.
that subscribe button.
Turn on notifications so you never miss
Ring
an
that
upload.
little bell.
You guys are okay over there? Is your victim at the hospital? Someone shot there. Alright, do you see that to take pictures of the, is it domestic related? She's calling back. We're going to try to give her a call again, and then she just added another phone number to the 13-year-old grandson who's possibly with the daughter. How was this?
2412.
Veteran Chris, I'd like to call back to the other female veterans of communication. She's towards the state. Detective 12, second check coming out. Also still staying stop. No. Offender in custody. Please step forward. Thank you. Anyone else close by the rest of them now? First time out.